things? Is that what's there?
I don't know.
Oh, hello, welcome.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. You are tuning into a fundraising live stream to raise funds for the national tour to get organized for an actual revolution. My name is Luna. I'm with the National Revolution Tour and the Revolution Club in Los Angeles. And so this is taking place on the heels of the release of an important new statement. New Year's statement by Bob Avakian, A New Year, the Urgent Need for a Radically New World, the Emancipation of All Humanity. Throughout our time here together, we're going to talk about what this statement is, what difference it can make in this crucial moment, and we're going to hear from volunteers on the National Revolution Tour, and we're going to hear them talk about what they've learned and changed by digging into this statement, and the difference it can make if this statement were being debated and engaged throughout society, and how you can be a part of this through your financial contribution, participating in a series of online seminars to get into it, sending in your ideas and questions, and much more. So right now, as we're starting, I do want to encourage everyone who's tuning in to share this live stream, text 5 to 10 friends, send them the link and ask them to contribute. And as we'll get into today, if you want to see a different world, you're responsible for being a part of making that happen. And so today we need to raise $50,000 by February 15th. And today in particular, more specifically, we're aiming to reach $30,000. And so that means we need to raise a total of $14,000 while we're here together. And so I want to turn it over to my co-host, Annie Day, who is also a volunteer with the National Revolution Tour.
So good to be back here with you again. And it's really good to be back here with you all again. So thank you for tuning in. And I think there's a lot we're going to get into that's important and interesting and inspiring and challenging. So for all you people tuning in, welcome. For people who have contributed so far, thank you. The total, we don't see the total bar at the bottom of our screen. So we don't, can't tell you. Okay, there we go. So we have raised $13,635, and that includes the contributions people made on our live stream 3 weeks ago. It feels like a long time ago with everything that's happened in the world. So we're gonna, we'll get into what we're gonna get into today in a minute. But I did, Luna talked about what's gonna be the theme of our live stream here today, and what we're gonna talk a lot about as the centerpiece is this new statement from Bob Avakian, which you can get at revcom.us, and it's a New Year's statement by Bob Avakian. A new year, the urgent need for a radically new world for the emancipation of all humanity. And the National Revolution Tour is going to be kind of taking this statement as the leading edge and as the framework of work for this whole next period. And we're going to talk more about what that means, what that's going to look like, what that can change, and why it needs to be supported. The tour specifically is on a mission to organize forces for revolution based on the new communism that's been developed by Bob Avakian, who we also call BA. This new communism is a theoretical framework for human emancipation. And we're going to get more into in this live stream what a big deal this is, what kind of impact it can and needs to have throughout society. The tour and the mission of the tour is to plant this pole throughout society, to break open a societal debate over reform versus revolution. To lift and crack the weight that the poisonous notion that this is this is the only way the world can be and the best there is. So what you ought to do is live your best life and maybe do some good in the margins of a society and a system that is crushing billions of people, here and all over the world. That can change. We can understand why that's happening, and we can do something about it to bring into being a radically different society and a system. So that's what this tour is aiming to do, and it's made up of volunteers from all across the country. Luna, myself, and a number of people you're going to meet today on video that are going to be talking about why they're part of this, what's changed in their thinking. It's going to be a great way. You're going to meet a lot of the volunteers from this tour. And these are people that uprooted their lives and they moved to Los Angeles to dedicate themselves full time to building this movement for revolution and to enable it to have a national impact with revolution. But the people on this tour, they need food, housing. The tour came to LA, 3 weeks before the coronavirus, and have been trying to figure out and, doing some important things in very difficult circumstances. But again, these are volunteers that need support, food, housing, to put on the Revolution Nothing Less show, which we're going to talk more about today. There's production costs, transportation, rent for this studio, for the film equipment, for internet fees, cell phone bills. We're doing and going to be doing more of our organizing on Zoom. Well, those are Zoom costs for PPE so that people can go out and do work in the neighborhoods and do so safely. So this is what your support is going towards, to a force fighting to bring into being a whole better world. So one, the contributions so far have gone up to $14,295. So thank you for the people who gave. And Luno, maybe you could tell people what we've got planned for this live stream today.
Yeah, so I'm going to lay out the plan for today. So today, during this fundraising live stream, we're going to be talking with Lenny Wolf, who's an advocate for Bob Avakian in the New Communism, on the statement itself and why people should get into it. And throughout, you'll get to meet members of the National Revolution Tour and the Revolution Clubs talking about what difference digging into this statement has meant to them. And we're going to play a clip directly from Bob Avakian speaking to those who are just coming into the revolution. And then we're going to bring on Sansara Taylor, co-host of the RNL show, the Revolution Nothing Less show, to talk some about the importance of this show in bringing people into the movement for revolution and the need for funds to accomplish our mission. And so throughout, we're going to be hearing from you, the audience, who are donating and supporting the tour and why others should too. And so contribute, send us a comment about why you're contributing. We're going to be reading these statements throughout. And so to help frame the rest of our live stream, right now we're going to play a 3-minute clip of Andy Z, host of the RNL show, from the special episode a few days ago on this new statement.
Today's special show is to introduce to the world the publication online of a New Year's statement by Bob Avakian. A new year, the urgent need for a radically new world, for the emancipation of all humanity. All 3 parts of that title. A New Year's statement by Bob Avakian, a new year, and the urgent need for a radically new world for the emancipation of all humanity should tell you why the masses of people should get into and wrestle with this document. This is our subject, and this is our mission for this special RNL show. The first line of the title begins a New Year's statement by Bob Avakian. Bob Avakian, BA, really is, as it says at the top of our website, revcom.us, a radically different leader who has developed a whole new framework for human emancipation. Think about that. A whole new framework for human emancipation. Pause on it and ask yourself, if that is true, and it is, then is there anything more important that you could do than to get into a statement that is summing up all that we've been through, digging beneath the daily chops and changes, the political crises of the day, and applying a rigorous scientific method and approach to what we've just been through, what gave rise to it, and the urgent need for a radically new world, for the emancipation, for the freedom of all of humanity. To not want to dive into what this statement says is to turn your back on the possibility that billions of people could get on the road to struggle together to lift the weight off their backs of centuries of oppression from this system, at a time when the very existence of humanity and life itself has been called sharply into question by the very system we live under. It matters that this is a statement from Bob Avakian. BA is completely different from the endless stream of bourgeois politicians who, for all their profound and professed differences with each other, share a goal of maintaining one variation or another of this system of capitalism imperialism. Bob Avakian is a revolutionary who bases himself on the scientific understanding that this system must finally be overthrown through an organized struggle involving millions of people and replaced with a system that is oriented to and capable of meeting the most fundamental needs of humanity and enabling humanity to become fit caretakers of the earth. The next line of the title is A New Year, which makes you think about how this has been a year like none other in recent memory, from the COVID crisis to the beautiful rising of masses of people after the brutal police murder of George Floyd, and then an election that culminated in a failed fascist coup at the US Capitol. And the words A New Year also conjures in the mind the possibility and the potential. But for what? But then comes the heart of the title, the urgent need for a radically new world for the emancipation of humanity. After all we've been through and all we are still going through, what could be more urgent or meaningful to get into?
So that was Andy Z, and that was a clip from a special episode of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less So just a few days ago. And the funds that people are giving are to support that show. And what you just heard there was just a really very short discussion of this statement. But then just think about that, what Andy said at the end. After all we've been through and all we're still going through, what could be more important to get into? What could be more important to contribute to than this? Than the need and the basis for a radically new world for the emancipation of all humanity. This statement is there's a depth of understanding here of why we're in the situation we're in, and I'm repeating myself already. The fact that another society and system is possible, but it's true, and it stands out in opposition to all the ways in which people are thinking, all the ways in which people are justifying how we're forced to live under this society. So if you're sick of all that, contribute for this force to be out in the world and to bring light to the darkness and a fierce struggle for that better world. And so for more, we're going to play. So what we did the other day, and Lenny Wolf is going to talk more about this, but we had a conversation with some people who are on the tour and who are volunteers with on the National Revolution Tour and are members of revolution clubs in cities across the country. And we talked with them about this statement. We talked with them about Bob Avakian's leadership and how all that has impacted and changed their thinking and why they think others should step into this and should contribute to it. So we're going to play a short clip from a member of the National Revolution Tour, Prose, and she'll say it better than me.
Well, when you donate to this tour, you're putting a different future on the map for people. One that isn't, bound with the illusions that the system is somehow reformable. I think a lot of people coming off of, the attempted coup, the attack at the Capitol by the fascists on the 6th, people were really jolted and shaken up, and they saw a fallibility to the system and to like the strength that they would usually associate with it. But from then, the whole jolt in society to now, where headlines are reading "Democracy prevails," like Biden's going to fix it all. People are going to be confronting the reality or ignoring the reality that Biden doesn't actually have an answer for the kinds of things the system brings about onto people. Biden's not going to be able to unite the country. He's not going to end the oppression of Black people. He's not going to end the destruction of the environment because he's the representative of a system that requires all of this. And so donating to the revolution is contributing to spread the possibility of a future beyond all of this, a system based on a completely different foundation, and to make the possibility of a future beyond the oppression that exists in the world possible. And then there's like all of the, that donating means that we can get this statement into the hands of more people, that we can fund the volunteers who have uprooted their lives and who've put everything on pause to work a scientific method and approach to understand reality. It means putting gas in the cars that the volunteers are using to get out to neighborhoods to poster up, this statement so that people can get it. Donating also contributes to the production of the RNL show, to the volunteers to supporting the volunteers who are filming it and, spending sleepless nights editing it so that people can get this analysis, so that we can grow this into a movement of people who are, getting mass conversations started around reform or revolution. I think a big struggle is going to be having people really engage this statement and the substance that's in it, and whether they agree or disagree, or agree with parts of it or disagree with parts of it, actually forging a culture of people in a time like now with COVID, making things a lot more difficult, to have public seminars, to have in-person discussions. I think people feel really atomized and are looking for a lot of answers. And so donating to the revolution means that we're able to use the RNL show as a platform, as well as brainstorming with others and getting creative about ways that we can actually make this a mass discussion in society, this statement and the content that it has.
So that was Prose, who's a part of the National Revolution Tour, and you're going to hear from her again later as well. And she's one of the number of voices on this tour. And I think she made a good argument for why people should contribute, especially right now. And I just want to say, we said this the last time we were together, and I wanted to repeat it. Look, we understand that people have been really impacted financially. A number of people have been impacted financially by this ravaging global pandemic. And, for people who are watching, people who want a better world, not everybody is able to give maybe what they want to, or what they could have even just some months ago. But there's three things I want to say about that. One, anything you give at any level, it matters. It matters and it adds up. If you can sustain this tour at $5 a month, then sustain this tour at $5 a month. Make that commitment. And if you think then about all the other people like you, be part of stepping into this and solve how we're going to reach all those people, because that adds up. And it's part of the revolutionary organization that we need. Two, if you're somebody who's not been financially impacted by the pandemic, and there's a lot of people who've been able to work from home, who've had that ability, that luxury, people who are for whatever reasons have some financial stability and wherewithal, then make a contribution both to support the tour, but also for those who can't give as much as they maybe would like to. If you have more capacity to give, then give more. Because this is the only way we're going to find a way out of this nightmare, if there's a force that's fighting for that. And that's what this tour is. That's what the volunteers on this tour are doing. And they need to be supported. And three, at whatever level you can give, then join with us in figuring out how this can spread. There's all kinds of ideas that people can take up collective fundraising projects. There's somebody that Luna was working with that had this idea of people giving, giving nice clothes that they don't wear anymore, and doing a safe social distance clothing sale out front of some of the public transportation places. There's ways, penny jars that people have done in neighborhoods where people take and give their loose change, and maybe 50 cents isn't going to be that much, but a building full of people who give 50 cents to $5, that adds up. And, two things about this. One, if you want to see a better world, then you are responsible for helping to figure out how we're going to bring that better world into being, to actually join with us, to take responsibility for that. And that means contributing, because that's the way we're going to get out. That's the way this is going to get supported and funded. And two, the kind of organization that we're able to build by doing this kind of fundraising is the organization we need to change the world, is those revolutionary networks today that we're building that are part of and are going to be part of, or need to be part of, making that actual revolution that's required when the conditions come into being to make that actual revolution possible. So I wanted to say that, and we want to hear from you. Keep, send in comments. We're going to read comments throughout here. I'm very excited to say that we've raised $15,632. And we want to thank everyone who's contributing. We want to thank everyone who's tuning in. When you contribute to the revolution, you are part of a revolutionary community. You are part of the forces that are saying, no more. No more are we putting up with this nightmare of a system. We're taking responsibility for a new day. So thank you for stepping into this with us.
Yeah, again, I want to thank you. And I wanted to read a statement from somebody who is taking responsibility for this and is part of the community of revolution. And so this is our first challenge that we've received, and it's a challenge to all of you tuning in. And this is someone who contributed $1,000 and is challenging people to match that. And this is from a mental health professional and supporter of the revolution. They say, I bring this $1,000 challenge to those who are willing to fight to support the Get Organized for an Actual Revolution tour. This tour is an exceptional group of people who bring the science of revolution and the work of Bob Avakian, BA, to the masses. I am making this challenge because this is the only hope there is to end the suffering and agony of billions on the planet and to bring into being a world that strives to realize the highest aspirations of human life and dignity. I think that the mental health status of a system reflects the humanity of that system. 800,000 people die by suicide worldwide each year. 48,000 people died by suicide in 2018 in the US, and suicide is now a public health epidemic. 3.3 million people in this country have a suicide plan. Social conditions, isolation, bigotry, economic violence, and life stress are main contributors to these staggering statistics. What kind of system is this? This pandemic has revealed the truth about this system, which is not fit for human beings. Fascists at the core in the US, destruction of the planet, kids dying in cages at the US-Mexico border, over 400,000 deaths in the US, poor public health resources, many people with no work and going hungry each day, worldwide suffering and devastation. Imperialist countries are hoarding vaccines and poorer countries will not have access. Death and destruction all over the globe. This system is rancid and must be overturned at the earliest possible time. We need facts and science to get this to happen. This is what BA has studied, and he has a plan to get us out of this hellhole. BA's New Year's statement exemplifies his analysis of how we got here and what must be done to get us out. It is inspiring. We must be steeped in these facts and truth. Please join me and meet this challenge. Donate all that you can to sustain and promote the tour. There is no time to lose. All of humanity depends on us.
Thank you to that specific donor. It really matters. And she, she put a challenge to you all to meet her and match her donation of $1,000. And I think that's our first matching challenge of the day. So let's meet that quickly. I was so, when I read that comment, I was staggered by that number that 3.3 million people have a suicide plan. Mm-hmm. And you just life does not have to, life's going to be full of difficulty no matter what system you have, but it does not have to be full of such needless suffering and needless difficulty. I was floored by that statistic. We don't have to live in a world full of dread. And anyways, I appreciated the comment. It is a rancid system, and it's on us to change it. So thank you to that donor, and a challenge to all of you to contribute, to join in making that contribution. And we're going to bring Lenny Wolf on in just a minute, and I want to ask people. This is going to be a very substantive and inspiring discussion. So take the time now and text some friends. Call them, people that you reached out to who said maybe they would tune in, go and encourage them to tune in now. Cause I think this, this is something people need to hear. So I wanted to read a statement from somebody who is also a supporter of the Revolution Tour. And and I think it's a good intro to our next segment. She said, "I'm donating to the RevCom.us tour because I'm impressed with the fact that the structure of Avakian's new communism is based on science, humanism, and ethics. Democracy is built on slavery, imperialism, and capitalism, three ideologies that exploit other humans and the environment. These elements have poisoned our country and our government and given rise to the corrupt leadership of Donald Trump and the fascist Republican Party. Knowledge of Avakian's new communism should be spread as widely as possible." So we're about to bring in Lenny Wolf to talk more about this New Year's statement, to talk more about BA, what difference it'll make for all of this to be impacting the world, and to give a sense of the kind of movement we're building. So to do as a way of intro, we're going to play a clip from Bob Avakian speaking to those just coming into the revolution.
The reason that I wanted to do what we're doing here today is because we need a lot of new people to come into this revolution, become part of this revolution, help to solve the problems of the revolution. I know you might be saying, well, what, how am I going to solve the problems of the revolution? I just heard about this 6 weeks ago. Well, everybody starts somewhere, and everybody has things to contribute. And we really need people to become part of this revolution. And, like I said, people should start with what they, can readily do and feel confident doing, that can contribute and learn more and contribute more and keep advancing. And come in at the point at which you're convinced about all of this, including the atheism, come into the party and help to strengthen the party to be the revolutionary vanguard it needs to be. And meanwhile, go out there and work among broader numbers of people, even while you're learning and struggling and determining whether you do agree with all of it. Help bring forward more people to be part of this process so that we can actually very quickly, and I don't mean in a week or a month, but we don't have indefinite time. Look what's going on in the world. So that we can move to where there are thousands of people organized into this revolution. And believe me, if there are thousands of people organized into this revolution, all acting in a unified way, I don't mean like, I think the same thing as you, I don't have any ideas of my own. No. But I mean having a scientific approach, and struggling together to recognize and solve the problems of the revolution. If you have thousands of people who are doing that, you're going to influence and impact the whole society in a very big way. So this is what we need. Look, I've said this before, it has to be understood in the right way, but the millions and billions of suffering people in the world are counting on us even though they don't know it. And a lot of them will tell us that we're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. I was going to swear, but I've done enough swearing for today. But you don't know what you're talking about. That's not going to get anywhere. Nobody's down with that. Even all those people who tell us that even though they don't know it, they're counting on us in a real sense, because what is represented by what we're talking about and grappling with here is the only way forward out of this madness for these masses, millions and literally billions of people, whether they know it yet or not. So this is a responsibility that we're all called on to take up and contribute in whatever ways we can while we're learning more and struggling with each other and struggling to understand things more deeply and saying what we think is wrong if we think something is wrong and fighting it out. I don't mean this way. But I mean, struggling it out to figure out what's right and how to go forward. This is what we all are called on to do. And to go out and get, what we're called on to do most of all is to go out and bring forward a lot more people to become part of this with us.
So here we are again. Welcome, Lenny. We're really glad you could be in studio with us.
Yeah, I really like the human contact.
Yeah.
And I want to say hi. I want to say a little more than a hi. I want to send out a revolutionary greeting to the audience. This is a very important community. It is way too small, but it is an important community. The money you give and the activity you undertake and the support and the sentiments that you express are very, very important. I remember the last time I was in this studio was, I think, September. And Bob Avakian had just put out a very historic statement on August 1st, which I think we'll talk a little bit about to get into the new statement. And I remember talking with Luna and also with Prose, who was just on the air a minute ago, about the work they were doing in taking this statement out to different sections of people. Luna had taken it to some, was recounting how she had taken this to some young people in South Central, the kinds of people who are written off by the people who make decisions in this system, and the people who have the potential with the rest of humanity to remake and reshape the whole world and bring into being a life that would truly be worth living. So yeah, that's a long way around to saying I am very, very pleased to be here and be in person with you and to be with your audience.
Yeah, and I you know, when we got the comments in the last live stream, Luna and I were talking about how much you can see in that and in you all the potential for a different world and the aspirations and the desires and the sacrifice people make to give and support this tour. So I want to, here we are, and we've got this major new statement that's come out. The New Year statement by Bob Avakian, a new year, the urgent need for a radically new world for the emancipation of all humanity. And I was hoping you could say more about what this statement is and why people should get into it.
Yeah, I would like to. But I do want to go back first to the August 1st statement that came out, and that was extremely important, extremely provocative, extremely illuminating, and it actually did create a lot of controversy. A major columnist for a significant magazine, when he got the statement in his email, tweeted out, "Holy shit, Bob Avakian just endorsed Biden." And this did have an impact on people, and it was something that spoke to the gravity of the situation we faced with the Trump regime moving to clamp down and further install fascism in America and perhaps consolidate it past the point of possible no return. Those were the stakes. And he reviews this at the beginning of this statement and discusses, in fact, the importance of the fact that the last time I was here, I was phoning in from home. The coup attempt in the Capitol had just been rebuffed, but had not yet been definitively defeated. And he discusses the importance of the fact that that happened. And that is an important fact. And it's something we have to fully take on board, including there's very important material in the statement about how that did and did not happen and what the implications of that are, which you should read, and I'm sure you will read. But I wanted to underline, when you asked me the import of this statement, I want to read from the statement itself. And you're going to have to forgive me because the masses are fogging up my glasses, so it's going to be... All right. This is from BA's statement. The electoral defeat of the Trump-Pence regime only buys some time, both in relation to the imminent danger posed by the fascism this regime represents, and more fundamentally, in terms of the potentially existential crisis humanity is increasingly facing as a consequence of being bound to the dynamics of this system of capitalism imperialism. But in essential terms, time is not on the side of the struggle for a better future for humanity. So the time there is must not be squandered, mired in oblivious individualism and political paralysis, or misspent on misdirected activity that only reinforces this system, which perpetuates endless horrors for the masses of humanity and has brought things to the brink of a very real catastrophe. These are the stakes. This is the importance of this statement at this time and of thousands and then eventually millions in grappling with this and engaging it and beginning to act on it. This is crucial. And Annie said that as part of what we've been doing to prepare people to go out, we've been meeting with people, we've been having Zoom conferences and learning how to master that with people from the tour, people from some of the revolution clubs around the country. And we got some of these people together for a discussion. And
Lenny, I'm going to interject real quick.
Okay.
No, I want you to read this, to intro this next part, but I do want to give people an update that we have now raised $17,517. So we've met the match of the statement that of the person whose statement Luna read, and want to thank you, and that matters. And we are aiming to have that go up to $30,000 today, which is another $12,500 while we're sitting here together in this live stream, and then we need to raise $50,000 by February 15th. So keep the donations coming in, and we're going to. You should go back to.
And do remind me at the end of this. There's some. I want to share some thinking on how to make this an even bigger thing, but it's going to take money.
Great.
How to make this statement known far and wide. So we had a number of people get together and talk about the statement on a Zoom call. And, the statement lays out in very unvarnished terms what we face. I just read that. But it poses a challenge to people as well. A challenge to not just accept and propound the truths that you find useful for your life, not just apply science to in one little part of society, but to actually follow the truth wherever it goes. And I asked people at a certain point in our discussion, we warmed up for about an hour, just talking about different things, about the statement, about how we were seeing things. And at a certain point, I asked them to speak to this quote, just to respond to it, what it evoked in them. And I want to read it. This is from the statement, and it poses a challenge in a certain kind of way. And it also lays out what the statement proceeds to do. To understand why we are confronted with the situation we are, it is necessary not merely to respond to, and in effect be whipped around by, what is happening on the surface at any given time, but to dig beneath the surface, to discover the underlying mainsprings and causes of things, and arrive at an understanding of the fundamental problem and the actual solution. This means coming to the scientific understanding that we are living under a system, and what that system actually is, the system of capitalism, imperialism. Working to grasp the deeper relations and dynamics of this system and how this is setting the framework for how different sections of society spontaneously think and react to events in society and the world, and what is the possible way forward to transforming all of this in the interests of the masses of humanity and ultimately humanity as a whole. And I read a little further, well, just a bit further. A crucial part of this is a scientific understanding of major changes resulting from the very dynamics and functioning of this system that have led to upheaval in society and have in significant ways fed this fascism. So I posed that question and people had some very rich answers to it. And you said you wanted to play.
We're going to start by playing Sochi.
Okay.
And she introduces herself.
Before this piece and after this piece, I feel like I can see it it lifts off the page how people aren't doing that right now in society, right? For 4 years, right, like people have been wringing their hands and lamenting and just, beside themselves in grief and fear and panic and it's all over their Facebook pages and their social media and their Twitter, right, about how fucked up all of this is. And each and every new outrage that was coming about from the fascists in power. But what stands out really starkly is that in the main, outside of the RevComs and the followers of Bob Avakian, people are not applying a scientific method to understand what's happening. People are they're talking about their ideas and their beliefs and what they think is happening, and it's none of it is coming from looking at things as they actually are, right? It comes from, my identity, right? Or, my specific vantage point or my narrow individual experience. And, through the course of this piece and the wrangling that we've gotten to have collectively, I've gotten to see, the stark difference and just liberating difference of how BA is coming at it, how this method and framework of using science, using dialectical materialism, understanding the contradictions in things, understanding the motion development of things, and applying that to society to understand what the fuck is happening so that we can actually transform it, how that is unique and sorely needed. Because otherwise, like it says in that statement, people are flung around, they're spun, and they're reaching for all these different, I'll just, I'll just do this or I'll do that. Because I don't really have the ability to see what's going on and to see, the possibilities. And, one thing I wanted to say is that to me, through the course of this experience, I've really come to see myself and understand myself as a follower of BA, where I respected the leadership and was definitely, could see the importance of what he was doing, but I don't think I really kind of dug what it means to have somebody like this. And I didn't understand really when we say the body of work and what I didn't understand what it means to actually throw all in, for revolution and to follow somebody who is charting a path, so completely breaking with, so much of what we've commonly thought as the way to go about this. And I think for me, that one sentence that you read, to me, that's the kind of the heart of it, right? It's I want to see a world where people, where children aren't mining cobalt in Africa, or women on the borders aren't slaving in sweatshops and maquiladoras, or Black youth aren't being gunned down in the streets, or women aren't being treated like trash, or queer people aren't treated like dirt, and the whole world isn't just a fucking playground for imperialists to exploit, right? And the planet has a possibility to exist beyond the 10 or 20 years that we have left of inhabitability if they carry on. And when you see a statement like that, you understand, or you have a gateway to understand that not only is shit fucked up, but there's actually a way of understanding why it's so fucked up. And that same method can also tell you what the basis is for transforming it. B says, he's not doing this work, and we're not here doing this work because it's just the right thing to do, even if it was, right? He's making analysis that we're doing this work because there's actually a material basis founded in a scientific method of understanding the world that says we can actually transform this.
So that was Sochi from the Revolution Club in the Bay Area, and she's been part of the tour at different points. She said a lot in response to that sentence you read.
Well, there's a lot packed into it,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of experience in there. And I want to focus for a minute on what she said at the end, that there's a scientifically founded way out of all this. And it's not just a way out. There's and this is towards the end of the statement, and we'll get there in a little while. But there's a place you'd want to live. It's not just we can evade the horrors of this system. There's a place that could end the way in which this system suffocates. There was a beautiful piece written, very important piece, written by B.A. during the summer on the suffocation of the 7 billion. I can't remember the title offhand, but it's posted on RevCom, and it's the positive vision of the communist world that we can fight to bring into being. Not an easy fight by any means, not an easy struggle. It's, in addition to fighting an enemy, there's the need to actually struggle with each other and struggle with the masses of people that we're leading forward. And that's a big part of the scientific method that BA's brought forward, and of both the sharp struggle and the wide arms that is also part of what's in the statement itself, which I want people to read. There's no substitute for reading the statement, and there's going to be, and I hope we'll get to this later.
We will, but I couldn't remember what they're called. So introduce it now quickly, and we'll come back to it. Zoom in. Zoom into the.
No. It's Revolution Zoom seminars.
Okay.
And, or Zoom into the revolution. But these are going to be ways that people can actually dig into this. And part of what Sochi was able to experience was struggling through this, discussing this in a community of people who were wrangling with what is the scientific method here, and how do we apply it, and what does it mean for the possibility of a different future, and how do we take this to people and wage the ferocious struggle we do have to wage with people to actually, because it's painful to think the world could be a better way. What you had last time with Michelle was very profound. She said, until I watched Revolution Nothing Less with BA, I thought I had to make myself hard. That people around where I live can't afford to show or feel emotion about the shit that comes down on us and comes down on others around us. I can't render what she's, I won't render it, try to render it more profound, but, and you'd think the way you're taught in this society, there's an antagonism between science and humanity. And while I wouldn't quite put it the same way as the person who donated did, but there is a unity of the science and humanity with BA and with what he's brought forward, with what was in that clip you showed, including the sense of humor right before we came on. That is very, very precious. And a movement built around this would be a very good chance for humanity to have a future worth having. Would be a very good chance. Not a sure bet, not a lead pipe cinch like they say, but definitely a chance. But that's on us and that's on you. That's what this webinar is about. It's about talking about this. It's about going back and forth with each other and unifying around this and exploring differences. But it's also about getting to it. It's most fundamentally about, not also about, it's most fundamentally about getting to a different world. And that's what BA is about. And that's what Sochi was bringing forward in that clip.
Yeah.
Very, very well. Very powerfully.
This brings me to the next question I want to ask you, and I think it's a good I think that is a good stepping off point on the science and the humanity. I do want to update people. We've raised $19,542. So we're close to 20,000. And then we're going to have to raise 10,000 while we're sitting here together. And it's a real opportunity. While we're here live, call your friends, write people, email them, spread this on social media, let people know they can tune in and hear about what Lenny just said, the actual basis and possibility to build a whole new world, and the role for them in this, that they actually have a huge role to play in stepping in and contributing financially and stepping in with your ideas and creativity. We'll talk more about those seminars in a minute, but but I want to ask you, if you could say more about Bob Avakian. And I think a lot of the significance of his work is outlined and concentrated and exemplified in this statement. But this is also somebody who's been on the revolutionary road for decades. If you could talk more about him and his work and what difference it would make if this were impacting society, if the people following Bob Avakian were growing.
You could talk for hours about that, but one person who faced a situation in which the dreams of humanity had been crushed for a better world by the mid to late 1970s. Movements had been wiped out. Socialism had been overthrown in China, where there was tremendous inspiration and hope for the whole planet. It was humanity's great good fortune that somebody didn't just carry the flag, but had the courage to go deeply and to actually look the truth in the face, to demand nothing less than the truth, and to pose the question of, if we were correct, why did we lose? And to confront that fully, to not turn away from the science, but to excavate the science, to look at the science itself and see where it had fallen short, see where it hadn't, where it had fallen into, where the science of Marxism had in some ways taken on aspects of unscience or anti-science. And to examine that and to synthesize what had been the tremendous insights, the tremendous lessons that had been paid for in blood by billions, not just millions, billions of people. And to take that forward and to develop on that basis a new communism that is I'll draw from the statement on this. Drawing from this historical experience of the communist movement and a broad range of human endeavor, the new communism, as its defining method and approach, emphasizes the critical importance of science and applying the scientific method to everything, to society as well as nature. And elsewhere he says that there's ways in which this represents a going beyond, and in some ways a break with the communist movement of the past. And most fundamentally, and here I think you get the unit, the humanity of the person and the humanity of the road that the person has led in forging. To be able to pinpoint the question of ends and means is so central to what any society and what any movement has to aspire to and has to be about. That it can't be the ends justify the means, but that the means must always be consistent with the ends you are fighting for, which is the emancipation of all humanity. There's all that, what he's brought forward, and I could talk about so many other aspects of this, the Constitution that he's authored, the analysis that's of how to strategically defeat these imperialists, all the work that's been done on the oppression of Black people, how the masses of Black people can be a force for not only revolution in the United States, but the emancipation of all of humanity, and how that revolution, as part of that, could overcome that historic and fundamental oppression. There's so much, but at the same time, you have to say the connection, the unity between the visceral feeling for the masses, and not visceral, yes, visceral on a lot of levels, but also the humor of the masses, and the beauty of life, and the awe and wonder, the importance of awe and wonder at the unknown, and of art and of the spirit. All these this is truly, truly a unique leader, a unique individual, and there's what Andy said, to not want to check out somebody who brought forward a whole framework for human emancipation. And I mean, look at that clip you just played.
Yeah.
And the sense of humor in the middle of all that seriousness. Come on. Let's get into this and let's spread this. There's a world to win here and somebody to lead it. And that's very, very precious, and something that's great. So, but we got to get money from people to spread the word of this, and to celebrate it, and to bring forward new people into this and let people know about it. And that's what we're intending to do. And we are going to take this statement out, and we're going to wage a struggle with people, because it's not comfortable to confront, what do they call them? Inconvenient truths. Mm-hmm. They're inconvenient because they're hard truths, and especially if you don't understand that there's a way to deal with those truths, to overcome them, to change the society in front of you. And that, I thought, was very important in what Sochi was saying.
Yeah. I also think that not in the clip we played, it comes through too, not shying away from our responsibility, recognizing that, not apologizing for taking that responsibility. The masses of people are counting on us, and that's all of us here together. That's all of us who were inspired by what Sochi said about envisioning a world where kids aren't, slaving away for our cell phones, so some people can make a profit. So. Yeah. It might be good to hear from Prose
Yeah.
her second comments on, and then we'll come back around and talk more about BA specifically. But you know, the clip you saw earlier was from this discussion with Lenny, and then there's additional comments where she talks some about the changes she's gone through in her thinking and the difference it's made to take up a scientific, you know, approach responding to that quote.
I met the revolution and found out about the new communism and Avakian only just a little bit over a year ago. And so, you know, in response to the quote that Lenny just read, it was quoting from this New Year's piece by Avakian, bringing out the importance for people to understand the actual like underlying contradictions and mainsprings of, you know, what's surfacing in, you know, in this country and in the world as a whole is like all these different forms of oppression. What really stands out to me in, you know, that I got a better sense of reading this whole piece and just in an overall way, becoming a follower of Avakian and engaging the work and analysis that he's put forward. Like I said, over the course of a year, me being a part of this, is that, you know, and Sochi was just speaking to this too, in the ways that where there is oppression, people do resist, where there are symptoms of a system that rise to the surface, the murder of Black and Brown people, the patriarchal subjugation of women to men, the persecution of LGBTQIA folks, and more, you know, all these things, people recognize the symptoms of this system all the time. And there's different ways that people rise up against that, like really righteously. And just, you know, contrasting some of my personal experience, my previous understanding, kind of where I was set at my core before even knowing about the new communism or really getting into communist theory, especially the new communism, was that, you know, I'm a person who, you know, I'm like a sensitive person, I guess, but you know, I've grown up in a world, we've all grown up in this world that's, you know, you run into all this fucked up shit all the time. You know, like growing up a woman or growing up, you know, like a female and just, yeah, you know, your mom tells you like, don't walk alone at night. If you see a man cross the street, like, you're taught to like fear men, you know, growing up and walking home with your best friend and he's crying because this is 4th grade. He's crying because he doesn't want to be gay and he doesn't want to be Black. And like, so you run into this shit and it weighs on you. And then your only understanding of it, my only understanding of it was that there are mean people who are, you know, they have bad hearts. For some reason, they haven't been convinced that they should be good people, but they want to perpetuate all this, you know, horrible stuff onto people. And that there are good people, and the good people who don't want this, they, you know, they're sitting back or they're on their hands or, you know, they're too sweet or whatever it is, they're paralyzed and we don't have any way of actually acting to change anything. And so, yeah, this whole, you know, this whole concept of actually being able to understand why these things are happening in a more scientific way, like, what is the underlying like motivation and forces behind the fact that we live in a world dominated by patriarchy? The fact that doesn't just come down to the fact that some people are mean, but that there's an actual material basis why that has developed historically, and that we can understand these contradictions. And by understanding them, we could also ask, you know, like, well, one, what is happening? Why is it actually happening? And then how, through understanding that, do we actually pivot and work in a way that we're fighting for the interest of humanity on a material basis?
I don't know yet. Okay, sorry, we're doing technical stuff. So I think that was a powerful, you know, people speaking from the heart about what difference it's made to get into the statement. If you want to respond to that.
Look, there's how many people
Mhm.
and how many towns and how many cities and how many neighborhoods who are 9, who are in 4th grade, who are in 7th grade, who are in 10th grade, who are out of school and wondering what to do or had to leave home and feel that way. And again, how long before that spark? Prose is not unique. You're not unique. I'm not unique. You're not unique. We happen to be lucky and we happen to make some good choices at a certain point, as did she. But how many, whether those people are going to be reached or not is on you. Okay? It's on us and it's on you who are out there. And there is a tremendous potential. It's not going to be easy. Well, that's one thing anybody on the tour can tell you. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be mistake-free. It's not going to be, even if I feel that we have collectively advanced in our understanding of how to do this, and that's important. That doesn't mean that roast duck is going to fly into our mouth, like Lennon once put it. We're going to have to do some work, and we're going to have to struggle with people, and we're going to have to take this statement and wage a struggle with people. Because again, the very part of the statement I started with about not wasting the time we have in oblivious individualism or activity that is fruitless, that will go nowhere within this system, when there is a whole better world. This is the heart of the statement, the call for the radically new world. This is the final part of the statement. This is what the Constitution is the road to. This is why we make revolution, why we're trying to make revolution. This is why there's an actual road forward. This is the heart of what we need to be about, and of what you're funding. It's the chance for this. It's the chance to meet the leader that's brought this forward. It's the chances, both these comrades were saying, to find a scientific method, to learn how to wield that method, to understand why. Look, it is messed up that there's the degree of sheer meanness in this society is messed up and demoralizing, but that's not something innate in any people or any of us. It's there's another work where he makes the point, he's quoting Lenin, that the very functioning of the system every single day forces people to calculate with the stinginess of a miser. But people don't know that spontaneously. People don't know that unless they're exposed to the scientific understanding of it. So again,
there's a part we didn't play in what Prose was talking about, when she thought it was just mean people are mean and good people are mean, feeling crushed by the weight of these horrors. And I think that I feel like her comments probably resonate with a lot of the audience. And then you can see in that a lot of the people you know and have talked with, or people who, like in the statement from the mental health advocate and supporter who talks about the people who have a suicide plan, because that's the way they see dealing with this. That's such a waste. When there really is, we can understand this. It's complicated. It takes work, but there's the framework, and then this is also in Michelle's comments that we played in the last live stream. It's not just how to understand it; it's the tools that you can then take up yourself to apply to actually then understand new complications and changes. And that is a lot of the work we've been doing on the tour, and then thinking about and trying to figure out, how are we going to go contend with this? How are we going to go wage a big struggle? And maybe you could, now would be a good time to just as a teaser on what are we doing with these seminars, and how can the people watching be part of that?
We want to do these Zoom seminars we want to do them with as many people as possible. We're going to have a big introductory Zoom seminar next Saturday. Everybody should sign up, get the copy of the statement in your hands, and get a dozen or so to your friends and challenge them to read it and be part of this seminar. And we will be, I don't know exactly how, we'll have a couple of people discussing it. We'll be taking questions in the chat. That's what they call it,
That's
right?
what they
we'll
call
be
it.
taking questions in the chat and speaking to that and dialoguing in different ways with the audience. And then we will figure out, for people who want to get more deeply into this, a way to organize real seminars. I mean, this is a real seminar, but to organize the kinds of seminars where you can go back and forth with your own, based on your understanding, what you understood, what you didn't understand, listening to other people. How does this apply? How does this not apply? Arguing, struggling, questioning, and learning and coming back to, at the end, okay, this is what I learned. This is what I know for sure today off this discussion. This is what I have some questions about. This is what I don't agree with. This is what I do. This is what I want to go tell the world about, because you get excited when you master something new. There's the joy of discovery. There's the the fun of wrangling with other people in a highly atomized society where the means aren't provided for that. Everybody's, look, the Zoom thing, I'm I'm getting used to it, but it's look, I like being here, and
Not the same as sitting in a room with
talking.
people,
It's better to be in a room, but we can replicate that as much as possible on a Zoom. The question is, what's the spirit? These calls we've been having have been very good. They've been full of struggle, but full of everybody, very zesty, full of zest. That's what I would say. Zesty.
The people who've been part of these Zoom discussions have all talked about the importance of the collectivity, actually, and coming to learn why, to understand the world, you have to do it collectively. There's the teams of scientists.
Science is a collective enterprise, fundamentally.
Right.
And one of the crimes of capitalism is it sets up barriers to that. It sets up barriers on how people are trained. It sets up barriers on how people have to get paid to do the work. So, and the scientists keep trying to break it down. But that's hamstrung, and there's very few people who are given the training to do that. So yeah, the collectivity has been something that people have remarked upon, and we want to spread that collective ethos. Further in this.
So this coming Saturday,
a
week from yesterday, there's going to be a come one, come all seminar.
Yeah.
And if people want the details on that, tomorrow there'll be more about it on revcom.us, actually including comments from one of the people in this discussion you had. We didn't have time to play it on this live stream, but she talked about what the importance of getting into this statement in that collective setting. So go to revcom.us first thing tomorrow. You can, if you're interested in being part of this and have ideas or questions ahead of time or whatever, then you can write to us. The email's on the bottom of the screen. It's getorganizedforrevolutiontour@gmail.com. It's at the bottom of your screen. And come to revcom.us tomorrow, and there'll be more details and links and all that. And then off of that, you're saying there's going to be more intensive seminars or...
Yeah. Even there, it'll be for every level of person, every level of acquaintance with this, every level of facility with studying. One thing that's happened is people on the tour, there's a range of people from people who've been to graduate school to people who, left school at 14, 15. And, one of the people who, I'm not sure, did we did we play, I guess on Revolution Nothing Less, they played a clip from somebody earlier who said he never read a book as a kid. He was a gangster, a thug. He got in prison and he was reading about he wanted to make revolution. He read the memoir and this is an interesting side point. He said, wow, I was a bad person. And here was somebody who was a good person, but never wavered in wanting to make revolution. Wow, that really shook me up. Anyway, it's worth seeing. It was on listening to what he said. It's on RevCom. It's at Revolution Nothing Less show. But I guess what I wanted to say is, so
The different levels of people.
yeah, it'll be for everybody. Everybody will be able to find their way in. And one thing that did happen was during the time when we were doing what you're referring to, really kind of digging into this and really, as somebody said in one of the seminars I'm in, doing a deep read that they had never done in anything. This was somebody who has been to school. People would meet separately in groups to kind of, hey, brush up on this or get a little deeper into this, or I didn't quite follow that. I know. I think this question you're saying of a movement that is developing and valuing collectivity, while at the same time within that, there's individual flourishing of a kind you don't really get in this society. So these will be very good for people to do. If there's not enough information at revcom.us, and even if there is, you need to watch the Revolution Nothing Less show, and you need to get your friends to watch the Revolution Nothing Less show, and you need to get your enemies to watch it, get people you don't even know to watch it. We have got to build the audience for the Revolution Nothing Less show. There's no other thing like that anywhere. Where you get BA, you get the video clips of BA, you get you get people who are followers of BA who are on there and doing very creative things and important commentary. And it's a way to be part of the community in between these webinars. And it's a way to build this community. So I know you're going to have a whole special segment on it, but just in relation to
it's very yes. It's true, important, relevant, and it should be supported.
Yes, and in relation to these seminars, go to Revolution Nothing Less show. Okay.
So youtube.com/therevcoms, where you're probably watching us now. So we've raised $21,677. Do you want to give an update, Luna?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a few statements since this segment right here. I wanted to read, I thought this one was a good one, and it's a short one. It says, it's from a member of the Revolution Books community who donated to the National Revolution Tour. They said, people don't know the best chance we got for real revolutionary future is with what BA is bringing. And with this tour, listen, I'm sick and tired of waking up every day with this oppressive system. These cops killing and destroying the planet, and these fucking fascists. I'm donating $40 today to this tour to bring the leadership we need. I'm donating as much as I can, as often as I can. And if you feel like I'm saying, I'm calling on all you to do that too. So this is one statement that I wanted to read. I think that really kind of brings it forward of why we're even doing this in the first place. People who are like, I know there's so many people watching this and others who aren't watching this who are tired of this. And it's like, how long are we going to be tired of it and fed up with it? Are we just going to give up and say, oh, there's nothing we can do? When there is something we can do, when we can actually get to a world where there is no effing fascists, where there is no like waking up in fear and dread. And I think this thing around this tour is bringing the leadership that people need. It's bringing people the science that people need. It's bringing people this statement, which is a very exciting thing. to be getting into right now. It's a very exciting thing that in this crucial historic moment, you could give people hope on a material basis, not with hype, not with all hyped up or whatever. I don't know how to articulate it, but it's like, it's for real. And I think that that's very exciting, because it is like, every time BA comes out with something new, I always get really excited, speaking for myself. And I think this time, we really have to break through on this. Mm-hmm. We have to get this in many people's hands as possible, not just in their hands, but let's debate this. Let's dig into it together.
Yeah. And I think even, the questions about, well, why are there so many fucking fascists? Where did they come from? Why did 74 million people vote for Trump? They are, why do the police keep murdering people? There's very real questions people are up against. And, I think this statement does provide both, like I said, answers, and then a tool. If you do a deep read, the way to understand the actual workings of human society, what brought us to this point, and how we can get up out of it.
Yeah.
Do you want to, maybe we wanted to play this clip from Emma.
Yeah.
Do you want to go there?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we're gonna hear from, this is also somebody in that conversation Lenny had with people, somebody with the Revolution Club in New York, Emma, who's also been a part of the tour at different times.
Because you're going to run into problems when you try to change the world. You're going to run into problems and obstacles, and how do you go at that? What are the tools? And BA is giving us some tools to actually look at, looking at things based on evidence, looking at things based on history, learning from other people, being able to evaluate and have a method to evaluate what's true from what's just assertions, and what's the evidence for understanding reality and how things work and how they develop. And this is somebody, in terms of the challenge to be consistent in that, this is somebody who's been consistent over decades at this, and I've been thinking about, just the whole experience of the 1960s and people fighting for civil rights and wars and women's liberation and all this. But there were the revolutions of that time where people actually made revolutions and went on the road to human emancipation, and those roads were turned back. That was very disorienting for people around the world. And what did BA reach for? Did he reach for a surface understanding of, I guess this, didn't happen, or these roads got turned back, so therefore we should give up on human emancipation? No, he went deeper, and he went and he looked at what were the causes of that? What were the shortcomings? What were the advances? And what can we learn from those advances that people had, the most wretched of the earth, had risen up and overthrown their oppressors, and went on the road to building societies on the road to human emancipation and liberation? And what can we learn from that? But also, where did they fall short, or where did they go wrong? And this was also at a time where a lot of the leaders and, a lot of leaders gave up here in America. People were killed. I mean, you want to talk about obstacles and disorientation. This was a big deal. And this is somebody who has been tried and tested in his own consistency of the application of the scientific method. And I just want to say that part of what it provokes in me is, if you have that a leader like this, the fact that we have a leader like this is precious. It's precious that this leadership exists that can enable people to take up the science of revolution, that's charted a pathway forward for human emancipation, and that this leadership actually needs to be defended. Because also, you can see the history of the 1960s movement, where you had leaders that were, killed or destroyed, and the impact that had to lose those leaders, and who died. There was impact in that. And so it matters that this leadership actually become known throughout society, that people follow it, and that people defend it with everything that they got. And it matters for the 10 billion people on this planet.
So that's well put, and I think a very serious challenge on us.
I think there's a whole lot in what Emma said that people could dig into, including, what do you reach for? Do you reach for science, or do you reach for some gimmicks or something that seems palpable. But I do want to underline this question of the urgency of getting this out and raising the question of defending this leader and the duty to defend this leader and to figure out the ways how. And the best way how is, again, to spread this and to let people know, look, we know the snark, the bullshit, the vitriolic attacks. That shit, people just need to call bullshit on that. There's no need to, that's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people who have their little thing invested in this system. For whatever reason, they've got a little franchise they're trying to do or something. A little niche within this. And they're not thinking about the people of the whole world. They're thinking about, what can I do here in America for me or my, sometimes it's my people, but usually that ends up as me too, as part of that. And so this generates an endless stream of vitriol, and of course from the ruling class itself. So as we take this out, we need to be very bold in just calling bullshit on this. This is invalid, automatically disqualified. No, what is your plan? What is your analysis of why we're in the situation we're in? What is your plan for getting out of it? What's your blueprint and vision for a new society in which people could hold power and make it power worth holding on to? What work have you done? There shouldn't be any tolerance for this.
Yeah.
During this whole time we're taking this out. And in fact, this should become a way that terms are set and lines are drawn as to what goes and what doesn't go in this society and in these movements. And the key thing is to not get deterred, to not get distracted. The key thing is to get this out there, to get this pamphlet out there, to come up with creative ways. One reason we need money, and it's important for people to donate, how are you going to, just to go old school for a minute, what if you had a billboard up somewhere? Or, what are the kinds of ways, the kinds of things you could do to break into the public consciousness a little more than we can with the limited resources that we do have? How do we make this a big deal? These are all things that we need to figure out. But I do want to come back to her point, that whole last part that Emma raised, and the importance of that. And these things go together.
Yeah.
So,
I think too, if you want the debate in society to change over this snarky, nitpicking, narrow, in the gutter swamp bullshit to people actually lifting their heads and talk about revolution, then contribute to this tour, because that's what we have to change, and we can change it. People, it's the worst kind of commodified, individualist modes of thinking, and it's completely impermanent. It came into being, it can go out of being if there's a force fighting to change the terms, and then lifting people's sights. And then having a struggle about all of that. But it's just, and we're going to change it by changing it, but there's got to be a force doing that, and that force has to be supported.
Exactly.
And also, I do want to say, if people have ideas, you just put a bunch of questions on the table that are really important. It's how we're going to break through requires funds, but it also requires people's ideas. So people should write to us about being part of these seminars, and write to us with your thinking on how are we going to actually wage a big fight, literally, throughout society and among different sections of society around this. So I'm taking your point and inviting our audience to be part of solving that.
Right.
Do anything you want to say before we close out? Anything you want to add?
If I have, first of all, again, thank you. Thanks for your questions. They were, they were good. And thank the audience for donating the funds that you've donated, the support you've given, and just to strongly encourage you to not just donate more, but to bring forward donors. That's even more important, to bring forward others, to reach out and to find community here. And the one thing I didn't touch on that I would really like to get into, you've heard a lot about BA the person, you've heard a lot about BA the scientist, this person who's brought forward these scientific contributions. I strongly want to urge everybody watching this to get a copy of BA's memoir, From Ike to Mao and Beyond, because you get the full thing. You get how he became who he is. You get a really great social history of the 1960s and how that movement developed from one person, but a person who has a very sweeping view of things, and you get a whole sense of where we've been for the past, where we've been and what he's done and where he's led for the past, from the time he was a kid to the early 2000s when the memoir was published. So I did want to, as we were talking, I think if any of this has, moved you to get that memoir and read it. And if you've read it before, reread it. It repays rereading. Well,
I think it comes
you'll
through.
Be glad.
Yeah, and I think it comes through. We played in the last live stream and also at the RNL show those comments from Cornel West.
Right.
And he made the point, this kind of determination and consistency doesn't come through osmosis.
No.
And I think that's an important to understand. How has BA stayed on that revolutionary road and through all of those developments in society since the 1960s, you learn a tremendous amount about all that.
Yeah.
So I just to underscore. So I think we're gonna to enable us to transition our places, and so you can hear more. We're gonna listen again to Sochi, who talked more about why people should contribute to this National Revolution Tour. We are at $22,527. So thank you to people who are giving, and we've got a little bit of a ways to go here, and we're going to do it together. So we're going to hear from Sochi on why you should give.
What are we doing here, right? We are raising money so that we can bring this statement to the people, so that people can actually understand the seriousness of what we're confronting right now, and also understand how there's a way out of this, right? And look, we're in a moment right now. Everybody saw that on January 6th. There was an attempted coup. And as BA says in this statement, people have to confront the reality that half of this country almost are embracing a program that is full on fascist, right? People are fighting for, espousing, and are passionate about white supremacy, the oppression of women, and the destruction of the environment, everything that goes into that whole fascist program, the persecution and terror upon anybody who speaks up and resists. And what BA is laying out is a scientific analysis of where that is coming from, what the basis of that fascist program actually is. And it exists in this society, and it hasn't gone anywhere. And yeah, Biden got elected, but there's still, you got Congress people wearing flak jackets right now because they're so afraid of being assassinated. That's how big the threat is. And in this statement, BA makes the point that we do not have a lot of time. It's not like we have, years to figure this out. We have to bring forward a revolutionary people based on an understanding of the new communism, operating within a framework that is scientifically based, BA is putting forward, people who become followers of BA so that we can fight against this nightmare, right? Fight against this fascist nightmare and also fight for an entirely different future for humanity. That's what the money is going to. It's going to actually laying the basis for there to be a future for all of everyone's children, everyone's kids around the world, right? And if people don't have this scientific understanding, then they're gonna get flung and they're gonna believe what they wanna believe, that everything is gonna be okay. Well, it's not gonna be okay unless we actually can bring people forward and go back out in society and educate and train people. You know, there's a point that he makes in this statement about uncomfortable truths, right? And this statement, scientific method is an uncomfortable truth that people have to confront, that we can no longer afford to look at the world from our own different vantage point, right? And I have to say from my own experience that I approach the statement, I approach a lot of new learning with an incredible amount of arrogance, right? A sense of that I know everything and there's nothing new that I can understand or need to know, and that's bullshit, right? People are hemmed in and pulled back and cowed by these ideologies that are doing nothing but supporting passive acquiescence to what's happening. We can't afford for people to continue taking up these lines of identity politics, from taking up any kind of orientation that starts from anything but an evidence-based approach that is concentrated in what BA is bringing forward. And so when we call on people to give money, you know, it's because we all have a responsibility to step up right now and to engage in the world. People of conscience, decent people, like he talks about in this piece. Most people in this country are opposed to this nightmare in different ways, right? Those people gotta step up and be heard and be counted, right? You gotta step up and you gotta put out that money to support these revolutionaries that are coming from all over the country, that are uprooting their lives, that are putting their jobs and their education, everything on hold to take up this historic moment in what we have to do right now, and building a movement of people following Bob Avakian and new communism. And there's nothing more important right now, nothing than doing this.
No. So she said it, there's nothing more important people can be part of than doing this, and there's nothing more important to put your funds and your resources to than to doing this. So if people, I think we were so glad to have Lenny Wolf with us. And the seminars he was talking about, again, if you can write to us at getorganizedforrevolutiontour@gmail.com. I know some people are having a hard time reading the email at the bottom of the screen, so maybe that can be put up larger on the screen. But you can also write to the revcoms@gmail.com if that's easier to read and remember, the revcoms@gmail.com. And then tomorrow at revcom.us, you'll see more about how to sign up. And I'll announce that. We'll announce that again before we go. I wanted to read so we are at, oh, great. We're at $23,027. So it would really matter if we could make that $7,000 goal, by the end of this live stream today. I want to read, and then that's a very significant marker, but then we also are going to kind of come from here and raise $50,000 by February 15th, which would be 20,000 more. I want to read a statement from someone who contributed to the last live stream and to this live stream. And, it's along I think it's relevant to what we were just talking about and some of what Sochi just said. She said, Bob Avakian's political analysis of the world helps me filter through noise, helps me recognize patterns, and stay determined in the fight to liberate humanity. It's easier to turn inwards and mute the headlines than it is to struggle through deep understanding about why the system constantly oppresses those who either have no agency, they're born into this body or that socioeconomic status, or have been made through no fault of their own, choose between a shit and a shittier situation. I never really understood why crimes pays. I blame the choice, and I didn't always connect the dots. BA connects a lot of dots for me and teaches me how history and systems of oppression inform the worst conditions, not just in this country, but in the entire world. Also, BA is consistent. He's been in the game a long time, ran with the Panthers heavy, and he doesn't let fear of communism, the hypocrisy of identity politics, or gaslighting stop him from telling it to people like it is and giving people a way out. And he does it in a way that's easy to understand. I appreciate that. So I think that's, and then that's on us to go fight for, right? Like Lenny was talking about, and I think was captured in the different comments we heard from people on the tour.
Yeah, I did want to read a short comment that I just got right now off of this the segment with Lenny Wolf. They said, "Thank you, Lenny Wolf, for representing the best of us." And they gave $100.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. And I wanted to read another statement really quick from a supporter and a sustainer of the tour who's donating $200 today. And they say, when I heard the reflection of Cornell and others about BA's love for the people, the significance of truth and science, this was deeply moving. It takes courage to confront reality and science to unlock obstacles that seem unsolvable on the surface. We need this science, this method. One of the RevComs mentioned that contributing to the tour is a way for the RevComs to bring this revolution to all kinds of people. By contributing, we can do this. It isn't just about our personal experience. I like what she said. I'm so proud to be contributing to the tour, to the RevComs, and to the future. Looking forward to season 2 of RNL 2. So thank you for that statement. And if people want to see, that comment from Cornell, they can watch the Revolution Nothing Less show, including last week's special episode. And I really appreciated this one because it is like the thing around it takes courage to confront reality. And that is, like Emma was talking about, that's the kind of courage that BA has had throughout his whole life. Mm-hmm. And actually going and digging deep at what's happening and what are the contradictions of the system and what's the way out. Because I think, people they look at the surface and you get overwhelmed by it, but then it actually takes digging deeper beneath it in order to change it. And this has been brought forward through the different voices that we've heard from the tour. And I think, we need this, like this person said, we need this science, this method. And we are going to run up against obstacles. And that point again that Emma said, what do we reach for? And, and the fact that we can rely on each other. When we run into obstacles, okay, go deeper. If you have questions, go deeper. Go back to BA. There's all this work that has been done that you can go and search and have more questions off of that.
I had two things. One, we just, this is very exciting. We just, the number went up to $25,027.
Great.
So we're hoping, we only see the numbers, and I hope to hear soon what that was. That was a big jump. And if that was a donor who gave significantly, we'd like to hear your statement on why. And if it was a lot of people, we'd like to hear all your statements on why. I think we're pretty well towards our goal here. And it would really matter if we could make that $30,000 fund needed. This is not just like a number. The funds are needed to support the work of this tour, to support this show. We'll hear pretty soon. We're going to bring in Sansara Taylor, and we have some exciting. You're going to hear from the behind-the-scenes operation of the Revolution Nothing Less show. I wanted to ask you, Luna, we were talking yesterday some about the importance this statement has made in your own thinking. And if you wanted to talk some about somebody who's, you were making the point about, how to lead protests.
Yeah.
Do you want to make that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I've led protests. I've been out there on the bullhorn. I think, others in the tour have too. But I think this thing around, like, I've been talking to people and they say, I can't even go to a protest. But, like, making revolution is a lot more than just a protest. It actually means leading millions of people when the conditions come into being to uproot and overthrow this system. So that's more than just a protest. And I think it's, and we do need to protest. But the thing is, like, do we want to keep protesting the same injustices 50 years from now? Or do we even have 50 years? Mm-hmm. I don't think we do. And to be honest, I don't want to be protesting the same things that we were in the streets for George Floyd, for the climate, for, we saw the beauty of all the people who came out to repudiate the loss of Trump, of the election, but that, whether or not we're going to be protesting those things in the streets 50 years from now or not depends on what we do now. And I think that does require actually going deeply and digging into the work of VA, because it's not enough to just hate what's happening and to be on the bullhorn, as important as that is. It's not enough to just, anyways, I'm repeating myself, but it's not enough to just hate what's happening. What's required is actually understanding why we're in the situation we're in and how to get out of it, and how to lead others to understand that too. Because that is what it is going to take. And transforming how we think has everything to do with transforming society, including people can change, and people have changed. Like that, to bring it back to VA's statement during the uprising, like what seemed impossible the day before was happening then, and so that's, I don't know, that's some of what I was walking through.
Yeah, and I think, like, you can just imagine if you actually had a force out there that was contending around what's in this statement, that was really putting revolution on the map, going to debate out the questions about, can you just reform it? If we just fight hard enough, and if we put pressure on the politicians, if we, should we make unity? Should we unite with the, try to have with what Biden is calling for of unity and reaching across the aisle and all this? No, but why not? Why can't you reform this? Why is the system going to continue to give rise to this fascism? What is the way out? If you had a movement that was contending around what's in this statement, you really could change the face of everything, and then bring forward that force that you're describing of ultimately millions. That's actually about going for an actual revolution and bringing into being the conditions that can make that possible. So I think that was, an important distinction you were making about, okay, it's one thing, we've led a lot of protests. That can be very important, but we have to go way beyond that. And that's really about building a movement for revolution, which is what the mission of this tour is. It's what people are giving to when they give to this tour, and why people should be part of these seminars on this statement, and then be part of spreading it throughout society. So I think we want to the question and the comment about season 2 of the RNL show. I think, are we ready to bring Sansara Taylor on? Okay, great. So we're going to bring on Sansara Taylor, who is the co-host of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. She's coming to us remotely. Are you there with us, Sunny? Okay, can we hear you? Okay, now we can hear you.
Yeah,
Hi,
I was like
you.
this when I heard that comment. I am also looking forward to season 2.
So welcome, Sansara Taylor. We are very glad to have you. You're also a writer for Revolution newspaper, a co-initiator of Refuse Fascism, and you're a part of the national tour to get organized for an actual revolution. So welcome to our live stream.
Hey, I'm so happy to be joining you guys. And I'm going to echo everybody else. I'm watching the numbers. We're at $25,027. That's fantastic. It really matters. I want to thank everybody who's watching, who's donated. I know we're trying to get to 3,000. I mean, not 3,000, 30,000 tonight. So that's a little bit under 5,000 to go. Hopefully we can make some progress on that in the course of this interview. And it really makes all the difference in what we're trying to do. So I'm thrilled to be here with you.
So if you're someone who's watching, who's gotten to watch some of the RNL show, then now is a good time to reach out to those people, to spread the word, to let people know that they're going to hear more about what goes into the show, why it matters, what the mission is, why it should be supported. So Sansara, let me ask you, we've heard, throughout this live stream today, we've heard some about why people should contribute to the RNL show. And I think it'd be good if you wanted to say more about your mission in these next months.
Well, first I want to say, I was looking back, we did a whole season. We've been doing this show now for a year, the Revolution Nothing Less show on YouTube. And we did 36 full episodes. We did a number of extra dispatches. We did programs that we co-sponsored with Refuse Fascism, on roundtables on fascism. We've done a lot of different kinds of broadcasts. And even looking back at what we've done so far, it's quite impressive. I was talking to a friend last night who works in media, who works in the arts, and she was saying, look, your show the production value is impressive. It's incredible. Every week there's creative content, there's pictures, there's multimedia, and the content is unparalleled. And really on this show, you get Bob Avakian every week. We brought him on the importance of science, on why you need an actual revolution, on what an actual revolution is, on the work that he's done, what he's forged, the Constitution. We brought BA's written dozens and dozens of articles this year. We brought a lot of them to life where he narrated them, but then we put pictures to them. We brought them in the midst of the upsurge around George Floyd, in the COVID battle. We brought this to people in a very popular form that hopefully, I know many people have accessed and many more need to access. We've brought interviews with people with expertise in different realms, from the legal realm to immigration, people who have gone through the horrors of what this immigration system does to people who are undocumented, people who have written about it and exposed behind the scenes what the fascist mechanisms and what has gone on at the border. We've brought a lot of different voices onto the show. We've gone into the streets. We had Pete in the street, getting the voices of people rising up, getting the voices of people who are being moved by what's happening. Also going and exposing some of the fascist rallies. And we were way, way ahead. This is owing to the leadership Bob Avakian has provided, but we've been way ahead of the curve on exposing and sounding the alarm on fascism and what was all the way through, and then the fascist coup attempt. We've had the commentaries almost every week from Andy Z, really in a living way, talking about applying the science of revolution to breaking events, making sense of things as they're unfolding and giving direction. And just an incredible amount, and the work of the tour. We've brought this alive. So I'm so proud, and I know our whole team is, with what we did in season 1. And we're building on that and then bringing that together with this extraordinary moment where the utter catastrophe that would have been a fascist consolidation had Trump stayed in office has been averted. And we have a little time, but we don't have much time, as Bob Avakian put in the statement that he just released. And we can't squander that time. So we're taking all of that, and we're taking this statement and the experience we've accumulated and the audience we've built and the team that we've built, and we want to build on that and do a season 2 that speaks to this juncture and really scales up in recruiting new people into our team and our capacity, and growing our audience, and in finding ways in tandem with a lot of what Lenny was talking about and you have been talking about so far, in tandem with the work of the tour, to bring people into discussion of this New Year's message from Bob Avakian on the urgent need for a radically new world and the emancipation of humanity, to open up that discussion and what this statement covers in the course of our show in a lot of different ways. So these are some of the things we have planned. And I think we want to bring another guest on with us, right?
Yeah, we do. So I want to underscore, I really I appreciate, and I think all the viewers should appreciate how unique this show is. I know not everybody does, but I know you, I myself, like read a lot of things, listen to a lot of shows, and you can learn stuff. But in terms of the framework of being about actual revolution, of providing the deepest analysis about what's happening and why, but also what to do about it, I just think that stands out in what you guys have, and what this show is, and then very connected to the movement for an actual revolution in terms of this tour. So I just agree and appreciate that, and that does not come together without a lot of thought and a lot of labor and a lot of heart. While we bring on this next guest, I want to ask people to keep contributing, and then we're going to try something that's going to be interesting and challenging. So, Sansara, do you want to intro this? And
all right, I'm happy to. So listen, the RNL team, the Revolution Nothing Less team, I also have to say part of what your funds are contributing to, and I hope that you do donate during this segment, is the beautiful studio that Annie and Luna are sitting in, and that Andy broadcasts out of every week, and that when I'm back in LA very soon, after I quarantine, I'll be in the studio there too. Mm-hmm. This is part of what requires funds, but it makes it possible for us to put on this production. It makes it possible for us to put out the RNL show every week. And so we have the studio, we have the production equipment, and then in a separate space for distancing and technical, in COVID, we have one of our tech team today, but not just on the tech team, part of the conscious collectivity that makes up and plans the show. We have Atlas, and we're hoping that he can bring himself on the screen to talk about what he does from the control room. Hey, Atlas.
There he is.
Hi, Sansara. Can you hear me?
Yeah. He's running the operation and going to talk about Atlas a little bit. So.
Yeah, Atlas is running this live stream. He's producing it live and is also going to be a guest on it.
Yes, buddy. I'm really happy to be here. Doing well. Let me just change something real quick.
Take the time you need to get it the right way.
Great. Two stage?
Yeah,
two stage.
All right.
You and Sansara. There we go.
There we go. Hey, Sansara, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Alice. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, and I wanted to say hello to everybody who's watching the live stream. It's really good to be here. It's really good to be putting on this production, and really excited to see everybody donating. Really moved to hear all these statements, and glad to be here.
So Atlas, I was hoping that you could talk a little bit. I mean, people hear me and Andy almost every week, and they see different members of the team, but I thought it'd be helpful to hear from you what it's like to be part of the RNL show. And not to start, we could talk a little bit about some of the technical stuff, but not so much to start there, but a lot of what goes into putting out the show.
Yeah, well, being a part of this Revolution Nothing Less show is really exciting. And part of why it's so exciting is you're working on a team of people, that's being led, that has leadership, that's helping actually lead us as a team to get into what Bob Avakian is putting forward, to get into this science of revolution, and to actually lead us to help apply the science of revolution. For example, how do you even figure out what do you put show each week? How do you segments? That has to do with understanding and getting into what BA's putting forward, and also trying to apply that science to analyze what's going on in society. What are the things that people are saying? What are the things that are hanging them up? One example of this was when Bob Avakian, he put out a pamphlet called Voting is Not Enough. We need to be in the streets and stay in the streets. And so we actually we scripted the segments, we did voiceovers for the segments, where we were getting into some of the things that were going on behind the scenes. Trump's coup attempt, the way he was messing with the mail, the way that he was saying that he was going to deploy the military, different advisors who were getting into this, different politicians who were doing war games, about how this election might actually go down and how Trump would attempt to stay in power. And this was like all the way back in like May and June, where we were making these segments. And then look at what just happened on January 6th. So this was like a part of what we got to be a part of, actually trying to popularize, the work that BA's been doing, but also giving people like leadership in the moment to try to understand and try to change the way that people are acting. Because, as we saw, we came within inches, of that coup actually succeeding. So it's really exciting to get to do that, to actually like do filmmaking and be able to make these beautiful segments with music and with art and with photographs and with different kinds of footage. And it's unlike anything I've ever done before.
I've been out on the East Coast for a few months now, and I came out originally for the hearing of Amy Coney Barrett, the confirmation hearings of her to the Supreme Court, to be part of protesting that, covering it for the RNL show. And one of the things that happened early on when I came out here, and then I stayed because it's been such an intense period, but I'll be back soon. But one of the things that I encountered very early on when I went down to Black Lives Matter Plaza and down to, which is now the closest you could get to the White House, is there were people there constantly, doing different kinds of protests, coming to see the wall that's still standing, just to see the plaza. It was kind of a destination location for a lot of tourists, for everybody. And when I went down there the first time, I saw somebody who was camped out and playing 5 Ways Donald Trump is Already Stealing the Election on repeat to everybody who came through, which was a segment that I know it's one of the ones you're describing putting together, which was really moving. They had it on a speaker and they were just playing it for everybody who came through. And so, we don't have nearly a big enough audience, but it is an example of the difference it has made, and we need a lot more like that. And as I heard it, because I'd seen it when you guys put it together, when we previewed the show and all of this, when I heard it walking by, I was like, hey, this really works. Upon contact, you kind of drawn into it, and each reason was broken down, and it made you want to hear the next one. And so even just the audio, and a lot of the segments that you produce in that way, we've rebroadcast segments of them. Actually, quite a bit of the interviews, the different pieces from BA, some of the special segments you're describing on the Pacifica stations that I broadcast on. And so it's reached a multiple audience in that way too. I was going to ask you if maybe a lot of the time, like when we do interviews, even last week we had these great interviews with people reacting to the BA's leadership and the impact it had on them to encounter BA in different ways. We get they're longer interviews, and you have to figure out how to get them down to something that's accessible, that's a little tighter, that's gonna hold people's attention and bring them into this. And so as you're doing things like that, maybe for those interviews, or maybe some of the other interviews that I know you've done a lot of editing, and not you alone, there's a lot of other people who are not on camera right now, who've also been part of this. But what are you thinking about when you do that? What are some of the questions that you sort through?
Well, part of what you're thinking about is you're trying to think about who is the audience that you're speaking to. What are some of the assumptions that they're carrying? What are some of the things that they're thinking about? What are the things that they need to know that they don't already know? And then when you're listening to someone and you're trying to edit them, you're thinking about what's their main point? What's their main idea? You're trying to edit them that's true to what they're bringing out. You're trying to edit it in a way where the viewer is going to get the most clarity about what is going on. So sometimes you have to boil something down to its essence, and that actually takes practice. It takes science. It takes listening deeply to what people are saying. So, that's what I'd say that goes into those kinds of things. And is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly. I guess I was gonna add, there's at least one more dimension of it that is part of it, which I think you captured very accurately, and I think with a lot of principle, what we're trying to do when we are editing an interview. But the other dimension I was going to mention is there's a lot of collectivity too, which is we wrangle a lot. Like, we bring people in, we'll say, hey, should we cut this? Should we cut that? Does this distort it? what is the most essential for people to get. And actually, there's often differences in different views among our team, and that enriches the process, because there might be assumptions that any one of us carry that we miss how it would be heard to a broader audience. But I wanted to bring up this question of collectivity to see, we need a lot more volunteers working on. We need a lot of volunteers working with us to build the audience, to invite our friends and strangers to watch the show, to put out the word and all of that, but to work on the show. And I know you've worked with a number of volunteers, but I think you have a very, probably more than myself, acute sense of what are the kinds of volunteers, what are the ways that people could get involved in the production of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing I want to say is that everybody who's watching, everybody can be a part of contributing to this RNL show. There's a need and a role for everybody and anybody who wants to be a part, whether you know how to use technology or whether you don't. Some people, if you have, skills, those are welcome. Or if you don't, everybody here is not professionals. We've all had to learn. And we work with people who are both amateurs and people who are professional filmmakers. So that's one thing. And being a part of the RNL show, you're going to learn more about this new synthesis of communism. You're going to learn more about BA. You're going to learn more about filmmaking. You're going to learn all about that. And that's a really exciting part of it all. But there's different things that people can be a part of. One thing is research. Sometimes we need to understand what things are. Sometimes we need to find footage that's out there that it may or may not exist. Sometimes we need to find photographs, and that's a lot of work. And those things go into these beautiful illustrated segments, that we have on our channel. If you go to YouTube, well, you're probably there, but youtube.com/therevcoms, go down to the BA shorts, go down to the RNL shorts playlist and go look through some of those things. Those just take, Google searching skills. And if you need help learning how to do that, we'll work with you there too. Another thing is, if you look at this map, here I'm going to go camera one. Look at that map on the back. There's all those people all over the world who also need leadership, who also need to know about this new communism. Two-stage. So we want to be able to reach those people. And part of being able to reach those people is we need people who could transcribe. First of all, transcribing into English what's even on the RNL show, so we have a good transcript, because those things can be translated, whether you're somebody who speaks Spanish or maybe you speak another language, or any of those kinds of things. Those can help us actually get this show out to an international audience, because the whole world needs to know about this. And all those people who are suffering need to know that we can actually make a revolution, that there's a way to do it. So there's things like that. There's also, we need people who want to write to other people, write to important people in society, write to people who maybe only have a lower level platform, who aren't celebrities or something, but have 3,000 followers on Twitter, and have something to say that would be important, that is relevant to what we're talking about here. We need people who can do outreach to all of those kinds of people. So there's a lot of different ways in. But I do have to say, in order for us to involve more people, it's going to require more funds. One of the things that we need is, if we want to have a national editing team, filmmakers in New York who can help work on the RNL show, filmmakers maybe even a whole different part of the world. But in order to do that, we need different kinds of cloud computing hard drives. We need different kinds of storage. We need different kinds of software so that we can include people all over the world, so we can put on the show and even raise the level of the show. And that's going to require funds. And so I want to say, everybody who wants to volunteer and be a part of the show, email us. The email is therevcoms@gmail.com. Drop a comment in this live stream and we'll get back to you. But therevcoms@gmail, that's where you need to go.
That's excellent. That's excellent. That is, I just want to say, in echoing that, but also, look, Atlas is one member of the team. The team has got several other people who are dedicated to this full time. And Atlas and the others, every single one of them needs to be working with and leading collectivities of people, new people. Like he said, you could be brand new, you could have developed skills, and wherever. And like BA said earlier, you might be thinking to yourself, what do I have to contribute to help solve the problems of the revolution? I just learned about this. Well, everybody starts somewhere, and I thought your invitation, Atlas, was it was with the right spirit, and it was very true to what is the actual process we want to take people on with us. Of really, what you need is a desire to change the world, and a grasp that the access to information and the analysis and the scientific approach that we bring could make a difference in the way people think, and that is what makes a difference in how they act in the world. And if that applies to you and you want to contribute, if you have graphic skills, if you know how to do a Google search, if you want to be part of transcribing or translating, or you have editing skills, or you want to help spread the word, or you don't know how you can contribute, but you want to contribute, write to us at therevcoms@gmail.com. Atlas will work with you. Federico will work with you. Different members of the team. Pete on the street. Luan, we have a whole team, and we're going to keep putting this show out. So I do notice that Atlas is, at least in my screen, he's disappeared. I think he's busy with the technical. I want to thank you, Atlas. If you can say anything by way of goodbye, that'd be lovely. But if not,
Tuesday.
we understand. Oh, you're back.
Well, I just want to. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. That's okay.
Well, I want to say that I really appreciate all the people who are contributing to this, and let's try to get to 30,000.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to echo that, and I want to thank you, Atlas, for coming on camera and for everything you're doing right now behind camera to make this work. And, I just wanted to say one thing personally on the request for donations to everybody watching. Every single thing that we do, every show that we put out, every place that we travel to be on the ground, I'm booking a ticket to come. I already booked the ticket to come back to LA. The ability to travel and get back with the RNL team there. All of this, it requires funds, and every single time we do any of it, you are part of it with us. If you've donated, you are part of it with us. You are in the streets of DC, you're in the studio in Los Angeles, you're taking the new work from this new statement from Bob Avakian out in society with us. You are there in every part of this if you're donating, and you're there together with everybody else who's donated. And Annie said earlier, and it's very true, that we are in a time of pandemic, and it's really strained a lot of people's financial resources. She said 3 things about it. I want to say 2 things about it. One is that this pandemic, like every crisis that exists under capitalism, has intensified and brought into sharper relief the fact that we need a different system. We need a revolution. The first episode of the RNL show that we did featured 5 ways we would handle a pandemic differently with socialist state power in the new society framed by the Constitution Bob Avakian has written for a new socialist republic. A revolution is actually, the need for revolution is underscored by the horrors and ravages, the unnecessary horrors of this pandemic, including in the rest of oppressed humanity around the world. And 2 is that when financial resources are very strained, people make choices about what really matters. People make choices all the time. They say, oh, we're going to, if you lose a job, you cut back on the frivolous things, the extra things. If you had that opportunity, you don't go to the movies, you feed your children. It matters more. You put your resources where it's most essential. And actually, a financial strain puts things in the sharpest relief, what your priorities are. And this is, again, the greatest priority for humanity. And we've been given a little time because fascism didn't consolidate. And we really, like BA says in the statement, must not squander this time, and we shouldn't squander our resources. We should double down right now in funding the revolution and in spreading the word and bringing others in. And I want to say, especially to people who are watching who maybe are new and never given before, make your first donation. I want to see a lot of $20 donations, $25 donations, $5 donations, $100 donations. Yes, definitely. If you can give 500 or 1,000, you really should. But I want this to be each time we do this, we have to have a lot of new people joining this. And the more people join this, the more we're going to impact the world, and it'll add up together. So I want to thank you guys for bringing me on for a few minutes, and thank Atlas for coming and doing double duty behind the scenes and on the camera. I thought that he brought a lot.
That's a profoundly impressive model of multitasking. Thank you so much, Sansara. Just while you're here, we'll announce, and we did get a $2,000 donation. That's a challenge to match.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
we're going to ask people to stick around with us while we raise this last funds and reach that $30,000 goal. Sansara, you brought a lot, and I think your last comments are exactly to the point on the moment we're in, and you know what you said, why people should double down. Do you want to make any last remarks before we let you go?
I'm so happy that somebody donated 2,000. It makes all the difference. It's really, we talked before this about, especially with Atlas, like, let's not just talk about the technical end, because he's got, as you heard, he's the brother is on fire for revolution, and for good reason. And that's the heart of what this show is about, and what everybody who joins the team is about. But there are things like, we had to buy $300 worth of equipment yesterday to help put on this live stream. And it's equipment that we're going to use going forward. It's going to increase our capacity and our ability to function and do a lot of great things for the show. But really, there's the gas that gets in the car to get people from place to place, a whole, more than a dozen people who are full-time on this tour. It's the housing, it's the food, and it's the literature, it's the pamphlets, it's every single thing. None of it happens without the donations, and every single person who donates is part of all of that. And it matters so much. So that's all I wanted to add.
Well, thank you so much, Sansara. We can't wait for you to come back and be here live and in person after your quarantine.
Season 2 starts on Thursday night. Season 2,
That's
5
right.
o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern, Thursday night this week. Don't miss it. February 4th, Season 2.
2. Okay, thank you, Sansara. We'll see you soon. So Luna, do you want to read we got a comment from the donor who gave 2,000.
So this is from the donor who gave 2,000. They said, this donation is a challenge to others whose hearts are pounding for the true liberation of all humanity. And its path has been determined by Bob Avakian in the new communism through a real revolution.
So thank you for that donation. I'm waiting for the number to go up, though. And then stick with us. We're gonna make that $30,000. We are hoping and fighting and relying on you to make that $30,000 goal. Is there more you wanted to say, or other comments that came in while?
Yeah, I think there's this other statement I wanted to read. This statement was done for the last live stream a few weeks ago, along with her donation of $100. And this person says, the last 4 years have seen white supremacy dare to raise its ugly head, encouraged by Trump. And we have seen horror after horror, atrocity after atrocity. People are horrified, terrified. They don't know what to do other than rely on politics as usual. But it's going to take far more than that. We need a whole new world, one that is truly just, and that unleashes the best of humanity. But first, we need to survive the current situation. The Revolution Tour is all about achieving both of these difficult and monumental goals. Think how different the world would be if we stopped the forces of fascism in its tracks. How much closer to that better world we could be. Please join me. Donate all you can. If it's $100 or even more, or whatever you can. The world needs the Revolution Tour, and the tour needs us. We are the roots of the revolution, and the place where a better world begins. I really like that statement, because it is like, if you think about all, like, when I started coming around the revolution was around the time that Trump was campaigning. And I couldn't, when I saw that he was doing a whole campaign against Mexicans, against immigrants, calling them killers, I actually couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. I was in disbelief. And then it was I met the revolution, and then, he got elected. And then as soon as he got elected, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get serious. And someone had given me basics. And I started reading basics, and I started digging deeper to, like, okay, where is this coming from? And I started understanding that it's not like this is serious, and we do have to take this seriously. And there's answers to figure out how do you uproot that system? Where is this all coming from? And it did, see, like, now is the time to act. Now is the time to go and even act on what we do know and actually follow our convictions. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm just thinking about how this statement actually speaks to all the people who came out, when they saw the kids in cages, when they saw the Muslims being banned, when they saw abortion being, which is still being held by a threat, when all those people came out to the streets and then they went home. Like, imagine if all those same people got this statement in their hands. Mm-hmm. And we're digging deeper as to why they came out into the streets in the first place. How it's not just, it's not
just Trump.
Yeah, it's not just Trump.
It's not just Trump. It's a system that gave rise to Trump.
Right. It's a whole system that can be done away with. And I think, people who did agonize for the last 4 years need to get into it, and everyone else who wants to see a better world. So
I think this is exciting. So $28,122. Thank you to the donor who did the match. If we make that match, we're going to be at 29,000 and something, which is pretty damn close to the goal. So you should hear their challenge and donate what you can of that amount, and call your friends right now and say, hey, I just gave this amount. You should give too. I actually wanted to, just on your point about what difference would it make if this were out there, if all those people got a hold of this statement, found out about the Revolution Tour, found out about Bob Avakian's work, and if there were this serious debate in society. There's a book that a lot of us have gone back to recently on the tour. It's called Science and Revolution: On the Importance of Science and the Application of Science to Society, the New Synthesis of Communism and the Leadership of Bob Avakian. And it's an interview with someone named Ardea Skybreak, who is a follower of Bob Avakian, an advocate for the new communism. And she's a biologist and a scientist in her own right. She's also written the book on the science of evolution and the myth of creationism, Knowing What's Real and Why It Matters, which is a beautiful and really important book on science and the scientific method. And actually, I've been thinking so much about the importance of understanding evolution to even understand the pandemic we're in. And so that's a book that people should get. You can get it ordered on revcom.us. But this is an interview with Ardea Skybreak. And I wanted to read a segment of it that I think is really relevant to what you were just saying, Luna. The person in the interview is asking her about the difference it would make if Avakian's work were known and engaged throughout society. And she says, it's not like a preacher telling you a few things to make you feel better or something. The more you see the scientific evidence of what the basis is for change to take place and how we can actually influence things in that direction, how we drive change in the direction of an actual revolution to build a society that would be worth living in, the more you get into that, you become a different person yourself. And I was thinking about that in terms of really the volunteers on this tour and what happens when you have people who, from all of their different divergent perspectives and life experiences, but all go through a pretty big transformation of becoming not just an angry person, but somebody who's an emancipator of humanity. So Skybreak goes on. She says, you're able to help other people raise their sights and become different people, become more the people of the future than of the present. than of the present, if you want to look at it that way. People who can become role models for others. And again, people from the bottom of society have a particularly important role to play in this, a particularly inspiring role to play in kind of leading the charge in that respect. But other people also very much need to change and will change as well, students, youth from the middle strata, and so on. I want to skip ahead. She's talking about all of what needs to change, how people relate to each other in daily life. That can change radically too. We need to be strong together, uniting together to fight a common enemy, not fight each other. Men trashing women, degrading women. Come on, people, let's stop doing this. Let's focus on the real problems and the real enemies, and let's get together and organize and unite to fight those things. And this is the point I was really moved by and wanted to emphasize. She says, we've seen it before. We've seen it in previous periods of revolutionary upsurge. The people get better. The people get smarter. The people get more lofty. They dream bigger, and they act in accordance with those bigger dreams. It's a beautiful sight, and that's a lot of what BA is actually giving us the tools to accomplish. And, you know, if you want to kind of look at the mission of this tour, to make an actual revolution, and as part of that, to break open those sights and those dreams, from all the narrow position grubbing that goes on, the money grubbing, the position grubbing, all of what Lenny was describing about the snark and the cynicism, to break open a struggle and an argument about what's actually possible. That's the mission of this tour, and it's what people are contributing to, and it's the difference it would make if this statement were out there in society. So now we're in unscripted territory, people. Yes. So we're here together, and we are aiming to meet that goal to get to the $30,000. We're pretty damn close. We need to raise less than we need to raise $1,800 and $1,880 there. That's my math skills. Yeah. And it would really matter if we were able to do that here together while we're carrying forward with this live stream.
I think it would be good to maybe read a few more statements. This is a statement for today's live stream. It was, it was revised. They're starting with pledging $10. They said, I can contribute to the National Revolution Tour. I understand the importance of the tour. I've got a job and kids, and I would join the tour if I could. The Revolution Tour needs support to keep spreading the message of revolution. Trump is extremely dangerous because his forces are angry and stirred up. Trump is using the common denominator of fear, telling them everybody is against them. Black people, the media, etc. 74 million voted for Trump. That tells us this society has never faced up to systemic racism, and the delusional ones are full of force, full of hate and fear, being told there is a secret plot. So how do we get by the brainwashing? Some think it's calm now, but I think it's the calm before the storm. I loved Bob Avakian's piece on radical change is coming. And either it is going to be radical reactionary or radical revolutionary. I see a civil war coming, all hell breaking loose, lunacy coming to a head, a bad karmic manifestation. The tour is in the field, telling people what is really going down, delivering the truth. There are tremendous tensions going on after the election. I got family members down south, and the racism is intense. On the other side, I see the beginning of a global rising. I see a new generation standing up to injustice. People need to join the revolution with us and overcome their fears. I also want to raise money for the tour from my friends.
That's very moving. Yeah. And I do think people should know, look, if you want to be part of raising funds, if you want to be, then write to us. We can work with you. If you want to pull people together if you want to host us on your Instagram Live, and we can go on and make a few friends together and we can talk about this. All of this is what we're, especially with this statement, aiming to do in these next weeks. So please write to us at therevcoms@gmail.com or getorganizedforrevolutiontour@gmail.com. And also, this is, look, it's terrible conditions with the pandemic. I mean, obviously the mass death is staggering. But then, okay, so then here we are stuck, being careful, taking responsibility for the society's health, and we're quarantining and all that. So then there's freedom here. So these Zoom seminars actually do provide an opportunity for people like this donor to come together and to dig into this statement, and through this period, especially this month of February, to then really come out of that with a force that's gotten steeped in wrangling and discussing the analysis, and the method in this statement to be able to go wage that big struggle. So just to reiterate, this coming Saturday, we're doing this big seminar, Come One, Come All. I don't have the times yet, but if you go to revcom.us, in the morning, that will be posted, and a way to sign up will be posted. So that seminar, it's big. Invite your friends, spread the word. You can ask, read the statement so that you can get ready to ask what questions you want to ask in the chat. And then off of that, we're going to do a whole range of seminars of different sizes. And probably different lengths. Maybe we'll do a 1 week, maybe we'll do a 4 weeks, and you can come to four discussions. And if you want to sign up for those, also write to us, the revcoms@gmail.com, spreadrevolutiontour@gmail.com. If you have ideas on how you want to get into this, write us. If you have ideas on, look, I have 7 friends and they're kind of into this, but they're not ready to commit to a 4-week session, then we'll have somebody from the tour go, join a discussion with them, and we can do a one-time seminar and see what that opens up. There's a lot of ways, there's a lot of creativity we have to apply to dig into this statement and to spread it. And so all of that, your participation and your thinking and questions can all contribute to that. Also, just, Andy said in the special episode last week that your questions can even contribute to what's going to be on the season 2 of the RNL show. What questions do you have that you think the show needs to speak to about this statement, about the analysis that's in there, the depth of understanding about the polarization in the country and in the world? What is it? What has changed? How has capitalism, imperialism changed in the last 50 years? What do we understand about that in terms of the rise of fascism, in the US, but also all around the world? There's a lot of substance in this statement that you're welcome to ask questions about, and can help us figure out then how to be getting into it, and what should be on the show and all that. So we are at $28,622. We're very close. And again, thank you for your contributions. I just feel like in this society, there's so much, especially in America, that lives off the people of the world, with the depth of parasitism and kind of what people are told they should put their resources to. Mm-hmm. Me, or my family, or, just the bare struggle for survival. But all while this system is still functioning and grinding up the world. So the fact that people are contributing, and contributing generously, making the sacrifice, whether it's $10, whether it's $2,000, it really matters. And it's all of us coming together to contribute to a whole better way the world could be, up against all of the bullshit that tells us, no, just make your peace with what is. No, just worry about you and yours. Worry about your family. All you can do is take care of your kids or your community. No, Sochi said it so powerfully in her statement earlier. The people of the children of the world are all of our children, and we're responsible for them, and we're responsible for bringing into being a society and a system where generations of youth can actually survive and thrive. That's possible, but it's on all of us. So the contributions you all are making, it really matters to bring into being that society and that system. There's a statement I wanted to read, and then we just got another statement in. This is somebody who's donating their stimulus check, plus some more to come this week, and that is a really important way to give. They said, "Revolution, nothing less, with BA's laser-like vision, scientific method, and the party he built and leads. Give us the tools we need to prepare ourselves, the people, and the party for that rare historic moment when a revolutionary situation arises, so that humanity can seize the time and put us in the path of a society free of exploitation and oppression, when life and our planet can flourish in common harmony." So thank you for the donation and the statement.
Yes, thank you. And we just got $100, it seems. So we're almost there. People are throwing up their hands. That's good. This is a statement we just got from a supporter donating $500. This person says, one of the things that has impressed me about Avakian and the new communism is the importance of critical thinking and its emphasis of seeking truth through the scientific method. As a leader and philosopher, he has promoted critical thinking among those like myself who have embraced his leadership. Not only that, he has called upon us to reach for the best within ourselves. He has called for us to keep our moral compass, if you will. Revolution is not about revenge, but about the emancipation of all humanity, and about being proper stewards of our dear Mother Earth. I've had the privilege of working with some of the RevComs in NYC and DC in the last few months. They are both critical thinkers and amazing people. They have the courage of their convictions as well as a deep love and compassion for humanity. One of the foulest slanders that is aimed at Avakian and those who embrace his leadership is that they are cultists. This is pure bullshit. Anyone who has actually read Avakian's work or met the RevComs has to be struck by the emphasis on critical thinking and the search for truth by employing the scientific method. I am donating $500 to the RNL tour. Much love and respect to Avakian and all the RevComs. Yes, that's right.
I mean, look, you just have to say, I appreciate that. It is straight bullshit. And, look, here's just to be real. The RevComs, the National Revolution Tour, the RNL show, it's not funded by like the NGOification of what's considered the left in this country. Like there's the huge, if someone wanted to come give us a grant, I don't think we would say no. But like if you think about the operation that goes into the sustaining, but also confining and containing the resistance into and on the terms of this system, where young people who come forward who hate, resist and rebel, too often groomed to be hacks. Right, to think about and to shape a career built on sort of resisting oppression, but making a career out of it, and actually ending up, like I said, containing and confining people into that oppression. And it's bound up with the role of the Democratic Party, and it's bound up with I won't go on, but like this is part of where this revolution is not funded by corporate dollars, and it's not funded by the NGO. Operation. This is funded by you. It's funded from people who can afford to give their stimulus check. It's funded by okay, I'm looking here. Sorry. Hello, people. It's funded by people in the neighborhoods who can give $5 a month. It's funded by people who want to see a better world, and it is, and that has to spread. The networks of people who are supporting and fighting to see that better world actually come into being out from the framework of the system that is. So I really appreciate those comments, and funds are required to make this known. Funds are required to spread this, for it to get oxygen and air. To break this open and to crack that verdict that this is, I said this earlier, that this is the best of all possible worlds. So we are at $28,760. Thank you to the generous donors. We're very close. And part of why we're so serious about making this goal here today is because it's a key launching pad to make the next goal, which is $50,000 by February 15th. And, we are setting out with big plans around this statement, to do these Zoom seminars, to have that, to be behind the ways and the forms to go break open a big debate in society, right? And we don't have all the plans figured out. But think about, some of what Lenny was saying. Should we get billboards? What kind of advertising plan? What kind of online speakers bureau? How is the word of those things going to spread? If we do panels, how do those things, with people from different positions, so you're able to have a dialogue or debate, how is the word of that going to spread? We don't have the dollars of Rolling Stone or the New York Times or whatever it is that, you know, kind of these mainstream networks. We are coming out from the grassroots. So that requires funds, it requires struggle, it requires support. So, you know, this is like, it's within our reach. You know, you just look at the system has no answers. But this statement, Bob Avakian, the revolution does. And so there's a basis to and people are agonized, right? And it's reflected in the statements people are giving. There's a basis for this, but it's going to take a struggle and it's going to take support. So that's why we're so determined to make this goal today.
Mm-hmm. I think that, you know, I wanted to read another statement. I like reading these statements because it does give people like an idea of who is a part of this, you know, who is a part of this process, who is a part of this movement, you know, what's making the work of the National Revolution Tour even possible to go out there and wage that struggle. So this is a person who made a $250 donation. They said, "I am a furloughed and essential worker, yet I can donate to the National Revolution Tour. With regard to Bob Avakian, what is it that he is saying that can address all these different sections of people? The question of division is on point. When you look at the gangs, they are one step away from understanding the system, and they have to go up against the Darren Chauvins of this world. Darren Chauvin is the cop who murdered George Floyd. Mm-hmm. When you look at all the high school students, how can you convince them? Those people on the 6th in the Capitol, it's clear they do not want to share power. The impression I am getting is capitalism and fascism come hand in hand. But what is so subtle in the U.S.? U.S. went to the other countries and created a wasteland. The refugees come here, and the Democrats subjugate the immigrants into another class of people. KRS-One once had a song out calling out the overseers. His intent was to call into question the role the police play in this society, their adversarial and confrontational role in relation to the African American community. It's a challenge to make the case that we could all be in alliance against those overseers who want to rule over everyone. I understand the work of the National Revolution Tour is vital." So I think, you know, statements like that are really important, and it, you know, for more and more people who donate, I see we just got to 28,880. So that gave us a little bit more. But I think, you know, these statements, they do exemplify, you know, the different levels in which people understand how vital the work of the tour is. And that needs to grow. And I don't see it growing any other way, or I don't see it growing without people actually donating to this and people sustaining it, people going deeper, because people donate to things based on what they understand. Like the whole struggle of why a revolution is needed and how it's possible is opened up when you actually give to this movement. And I think that's at the core of what you're giving to. And so, like, I think this person is posing really good questions. Like high school students, there's a question of like, we're in a global pandemic, we can't be out in the public square, kids are not in school. And so how do we go get this to the high school students? Are there high school students that you know? Are there high school students watching right now who go take this to their friends? Can we go into your Zoom class or something? Can we come to your Zoom club and actually discuss this with young people? Because if you think about any movement or uprising or any movement for revolution is not going to happen without youth and students. We actually need to reach them. You know, what about the youth in the inner cities? How does this get to them? You know, that's all of those questions that that this person is posing are the kind of questions that all of us here who are watching and the people in the tour like need to go to work on. And so that's what all of these funds are going to. And I don't know, I wanted to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a $10 donation that just came in and a $20 donation. All of that adds up. You know, it really does. You know, people don't think, they think it's too small, or $5 a month. What difference would that make? It adds up. It adds up. It's part of building the community of revolution. So whatever you can give. Luna, we were talking, and I think, sorry, just to add too, is I think people really underestimate the difference it makes to struggle over ideas. Like what people think, I can't remember who was saying this earlier, what people think impacts and changes what they do or what they don't do. The amount on the one hand, the amount of hopelessness, and on the other hand, the amount of agonizing people are doing. The fact that we are at this very, I don't know how to say it, but crucial, pivotal juncture where people just watched a near coup take place. There's I think a deep sense among a lot of people that there's a desire for things to go back to normal, a sense that normal was kind of no good anyway. And then I think a worry that people are going to just go back to sleep, among other people. So there's like a lot of people agonizing. What is it that they're going to come to understand about what we're up against? What is it they're going to come to understand about what's possible? What people think can have a big impact on what they do. And we are out to go wage a big struggle about all that. And I know, Luna, we were talking and preparing for this live stream. You were telling me about some of the experience you had in Chicago. I don't know if you want to bring in that story. I think it's impactful and says a lot about what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, the tour was in Chicago in 2019, I believe. And we were going out to the different neighborhoods of the oppressed, like especially in the South Side. We went to the West Side. And we were on an outing for some time. And then there was a youth who saw us like out there, getting out. I forgot what we were getting out. And he comes up to us and he asks like, "Oh, what is this about? And what's this revolution about?" So I told him a little bit about it. And then I asked him like, have you ever thought about, what kind of world you want to live in? And he said, I haven't even thought. The only thing I'm thinking about is if I can live past the age of 23. And he was 18 years old. And I remember telling him like, I was like, that's really outrageous. That's outrageous that there's people like you, like here and all over the world, who think like that. And I told him, I was like, look, there's people who are just like you, who live in the Middle East, who are thinking the same thing. Man, I just want to walk to school without fear of a bomb dropping on my head. Like, that's the kind of future that so many young people like are confined in. And I think this thing around it, if people don't engage, like the way out, if people don't engage in the statement and actually give to this tour, who is going to work on putting an end to the system that creates conditions for youth like that to think that way, then we are condemning them to a future that is none, when there actually is the potential for them to become leaders of a different society. And I think, that is like, that's a problem of the revolution. That's a problem that we have to go to work on to solve. We need to bring those kinds of people into this revolution, grappling with BA's work, like that's, and quite frankly, I don't want to live in a world where that's the case for so many youth who think that they can't live past the age of 23, or that's all they can aspire to. So that's some of what, the tour has been going out to do, including like, we want to meet a lot more people from different backgrounds who can have the potential to be a part of this.
I think just it's a heavy thing, and I think it's important to pull the lens back for people for them to be able to even see what they're going through is not their own thing, but it's part of a whole social phenomena of people all around the world. But whether or not you have the ability, you, Luna, pros, people that you all have gotten to meet through this live stream, through the last live stream, and the many others you have yet to get the chance to meet, but we hope will. Like, there actually has to go be people that go to those neighborhoods, to go struggle with those people, so that they have the opportunity to get into something like this statement. I mean, we probably don't have time to get into it all now, but you have experience when that August 1st statement came out that Lenny talked about, of getting with a whole bunch of youth and walking them through it so that they could come to an understanding of fascism, that they could come to an understanding of the stakes of this system. But they wouldn't have had that understanding if you hadn't brought it to them. Now, I don't know where that particular kid from the west side of Chicago, where he's at right now. But there are millions of people like him, and we have to go fight for them and go and struggle, and actually so that they can step into this. And if this statement isn't having that kind of impact throughout society, if people aren't taking responsibility to dig into it themselves, Sochi talked about this, to actually dig into it, to set aside your arrogance of, oh, I already know. No, you don't already know. You might have a lot of thinking we can learn from, but if you don't take responsibility and engage a serious answer for why we're in this situation and the need and the basis for a radically new world, then you are consigning people. Just the point you made. You are consigning to people to have no future. So we are very close. We're $29,280. Thank you to the donors who just gave, who are giving. Stick with us. We are determined to meet this goal, and I hope all of us together can make this happen. So contribute. If there's one person you hadn't called yet because you were a little worried and not sure how to ask them for funds, call them now. Text them. Email them. Let them know you want to have a talk with them, or have them tune into this last little bit of this live stream so they can hear what we're doing and why it should be supported. Did we just get a statement that you wanted to read?
Yes, we got a short statement from somebody who just donated $38. It's from a nurse in NYC and an older guy who was on fire for revolution as if he were 17 years old. They said, to all you older people, there is an important place for you in the revolution, promoting BA's leadership and the new communism. And then this one is from someone who has been following the revolution tour. They say, today I am donating the $600 that fascist Trump gave me, the stimulus Congress voted and Trump signed, to the revolution tour. Due to pandemic-caused unemployment, many may not be able to do this, but I can. I have been watching the revolution tour online in videos and print, seeing them in the street, getting the truth to people in so many dramatic and inspiring ways. They are my heroes. In this capitalist society, money is required for everything from printing flyers to travel, food, housing. If they have enough, I want them to buy a national TV and radio time. There are so many good causes today, but this cause goes at the very root of it all. The horror of worldwide capitalism and imperialism. It is about the future of all humanity and the planet. Bob Avakian's message. The what is to be done cuts through the fog like a red beacon. Yes, I'm already a monthly sustainer and encourage others to do this also. It is a convenient way to feed in large or small amounts, whatever you can.
Well, I thank you for that donation, and thank you for that statement. It's true. Monthly sustainers make a big difference, because if you're able to actually count on a certain amount a month, you can make plans based on that. So I really want to echo that from the donor. We are $29,285. We're pretty close to making this goal. And I'm not sure if this has come through enough today, but I also wanted to say, look, if you aren't convinced of the need for revolution, if you aren't convinced of Bob Avakian's work, then step in wherever you're at. Oh, BA said this himself in the clip we played. Step in wherever you're at and give. Even if you, like I said, if you're not convinced, but think this can make a big difference if it were out in society, then contribute to that. Contribute for, look, like I said, even if you aren't sure you think we need a revolution, what would it change if that was the question being debated in society? What would it change if people actually had a substantive analysis to dig into instead of so much of the fluff and bullshit that you hear on your television every day? If people were actually able to dig into to struggle to understand the relationship between white supremacy and the system of capitalism and imperialism. Like I said earlier, the vexing question of why did 74 million people vote for Trump? Why did more Black and Latino people vote for Trump? Okay, the minority, but still, more than should have. Why? What does that have to do with the deep-seated divisions in this system? I'm not going to go on and on about it. People should read the statement themselves, but just think of the difference it would make if this were the debate and discussion that were taking place throughout society. That is what you're giving to when you're giving to this National Revolution Tour.
I just got a statement from somebody. They said this $100 donation is in memory of TC, which I don't know who TC is, but who shared two things, at least, with BA: a passion for tennis and a desire for a much better world. He had read BA's article on revolution and Roger Federer's tennis and was deeply moved by BA's powerful writing and his appreciation of Federer's skills and overall orientation to be kind to the lowly ball boys and ball girls. TC was not a revolutionary, but decided to read BA's memoir next to learn more about this leader. This donation is to help get BA out in the world with his largesse of mind and generosity of spirit for all of humanity. So I think that's an important statement right there, because it is, it's in memory, of the people who wanted to see a better world, and whose hopes were raised, but weren't able to see that better world come into being. Like, that's for them too. And I think, for any, if people haven't read that article that BA had written on Roger Federer, it is worth reading. It's
very much so.
It's very, it's on revcom.us and people can access to it. But it talks about, one, appreciating, Roger Federer's skills, but this thing around taking risk, even taking risk, even if it can cost you the whole game, and he makes the point, I'm trying to remember, it's I think it's in there, flying without a safety net, going and taking those kinds of risks because it matters. This thing around making revolution, it's not easy. It's we're not doing it because it's easy. It is a difficult task. But then the question to ask, is it necessary? Is this needed in society? Why is it needed? If we look at the world, could it be better? If you're questioning that, then this is where you go. Revcom.us is where you go. BA is where you go. And get involved. Get involved wherever you're at. And I think that is, and I thought that point too, that Lenny was special people, we're not unique, everyone has everyone has a different process of going through and stepping into the revolution. But I think that thing around anyone can go to work on this, and it's required, because who is going to make revolution? People. You can't make it without people. You can't make it without a core.
The reason that I wanted to do what we're doing here today is because we need a lot of new people to come into this revolution, become part of this revolution, help to solve the problems of the revolution. I know you might be saying, well, how am I going to solve the problems of the revolution? I just heard about this 6 weeks ago. Well, everybody starts somewhere, and everybody has things to contribute. And we really need people to become part of this revolution. And, like I said, people should start with what they, can readily do and feel confident doing, that can contribute and learn more and contribute more and keep advancing. And come in at the point which you are convinced about all of this, including the atheism, come into the party and help to strengthen the party to be the revolutionary vanguard it needs to be. And meanwhile, go out there and work among broader numbers of people, even while you're learning and struggling and determining whether you do agree with all of it. Help bring forward more people to be part of this process so that we can actually very quickly, and I don't mean in a week or a month, but we don't have indefinite time. Look what's going on in the world. So that we can move to where there are thousands of people organized into this revolution. And believe me, if there are thousands of people organized into this revolution, all acting in a unified way, not, I don't mean like, I think the same thing as you, I don't have any ideas of my own. No. But I mean having a scientific approach, and struggling together to recognize and solve the problems of the revolution. If you have thousands of people who are doing that, you're going to influence and impact the whole society in a very big way. So this is what we need. Look, I've said this before, it has to be understood in the right way, but the millions and billions of suffering people in the world are counting on us even though they don't know it. And a lot of them will tell us that we're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. I was going to swear, but I've done enough swearing for today. But you don't know what you're talking about. That's not going to get anywhere. Nobody's down with that. Even all those people who tell us that even though they don't know it, they're counting on us in a real sense, because what is represented by what we're talking about and grappling with here is the only way forward out of this madness for these masses, millions and literally billions of people, whether they know it yet or not. So this is a responsibility that we're all called on to take up and contribute in whatever ways we can while we're learning more and struggling with each other and struggling to understand things more deeply and saying what we think is wrong if we think something is wrong and fighting it out. I don't mean this way, but I mean, struggling it out to figure out what's right and how to go forward. This is what we all are called on to do. And to go out and get, what we're called on to do most of all is to go out and bring forward a lot more people to become part of this with us.
So we had a small technical glitch, but it actually worked well because I think that was a good clip to play again, because the people of the world are counting on us. The RNL production crew said maybe you could remind them that if we had a better internet connection, that would happen less. Which is true. This is why this tour needs support. This is why the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show needs support. I wanted to say one other thing, though, about that Federer article that from Bob Avakian, because I also think it shows something very special about who this person is and the fact that this is living leadership that really needs to be protected and defended and learn from. I mean, how many people are watching tennis and thinking about revolutionary ideology and appreciating the tennis in its own right, but also what there is to learn from that and apply, and kind of that the revolution that we are making is about humans and human emancipation in its 360-degree fullness. And it's not a narrow political thing, but it's about the wholeness of human emancipation. So we are aiming to raise $315 more. We're so close. And the reason, again, I said this earlier, but why it matters is because we have to, look, we're then going to go from here to make another leap and to raise another $20,000 coming off of this. And the next round is going to be harder because all of you watching are some new and some long-standing part of the community of revolution. And all of us have to go out and reach beyond, reach to new people, reach to people who haven't met us yet, people who hate the way the world is, but don't know that there's a way that they can contribute to bringing into being another world. So we are determined to meet this goal soon. We'll see, and if we don't meet it in this next short period, then we're aiming to make this goal in the next 24 hours.
Yeah. So I have a short statement and a long statement.
Okay, go for it.
I'll read both of them, I guess. I'll read the long statement first. This is a supporter who donated $600 of their whole stimulus check. They say, "Hi, RevComs. I'm someone who has been following/supporting RevCom.us and the Revolution Nothing Less show for some time. Why am I supporting today's live stream for RevCom.us and the Revolution Nothing Less show? The recent fascist coup attempt has forced many people out of their stupor and has shown them the reality of the fascist Trump-Pence regime, which recently left power. However, the danger is still not over. There is still a vengeful MAGA fascist base, as well as Republic fascists who are still in key positions of power, who are not reconciled to their defeat and are still looking for ways to take revenge upon their opposition in other forms. The world we live in means that there are tens of millions of people who are refugees from war, climate catastrophe in many different parts of the world. We are still in midst of a global pandemic which has killed over 2,225,900 people worldwide and over 450,000 people in the US, the oppression of women, etc. We do not have to live this way anymore. There is enough wealth and skill to take care of the needs of humanity and the planet, except that this capitalist imperialist system of private ownership/socialized production prevents humanity from living up to its full potential. Bob Avakian has brought forth in the New Communism a way to analyze society on a scientific basis, proceeding from what is reality and not how people want to see things. He maintains that this system cannot be reformed and that all the way revolution is needed to create a different future. You do not have to agree with everything that Bob Avakian says, but people who agonize over the state of humanity and the planet are invited to find out more what this revolution is about. Even if you have questions, doubts, or disagreements. There is the New Year statement by Bob Avakian, which is on revcom.us, and people can compare, contrast it in other writings with other programs out there. This is why I'm donating $600 from my stimulus check to the RevComs so as to help facilitate meeting the $50,000 goal of the live stream. I'm challenging people to match this $600 that I am donating so that the amount comes to $1,200, which will go a significant way towards meeting the goal of the live stream. And they say thanks.
Oh, thank you, whoever just gave $100.
So now we are $215.
Well done.
Okay. I'm getting my math skills are getting better through this. So this is okay, you're gonna look at this camera now. This is from a $400 donation from a supporter. They said, "I am so inspired by the people who spoke from their hearts on the RNL show last Thursday and during this live stream today about how they came to get connected with Bob Avakian and this revolution. This gives me so much hope."
So we just got, we really appreciate this. Okay. Someone who had previously donated $500 and just donated another $250. And they said, "I couldn't stand it. Had to donate another $200. I am a math paraprofessional in an immigrant city. I don't make a lot of money, but donating money is one way I can connect with and support the revolutionary movement. I fantasize about hitting the big one and donating millions, but $750 will have to do today." But look, I appreciate that. And really the donation, oh my goodness, the donation really matters. And we've made our goal. So we've raised $30,000.
Yay!
$285. And I want to say, like, look, sure, you can fantasize about hitting the big one, but really there's not going to be a shortcut. this revolution is going to be made, and it's going to be supported and funded by all of us coming together. This is so meaningful. The fact that this is how you contribute to and support and stay plugged into the revolution, and you're part of something that matters, and that's part of something that's bigger than yourself. And all of us coming together in this way is what it does add up to something bigger than each of us on our, by ourselves and on our own. And you see it, you feel it, you see it and hear it in the different statements from people, all the diversity, people of different ages, from different backgrounds coming together to fight for and embody the world that's possible, that could be brought into being if we go out and wage a hellacious struggle around it. And if we come together to struggle collectively to understand the world as it actually is and how it can be. So we made our goal. It is, okay. So I just got a message that Revolution Books in Berkeley did a used book sale today, which is what took us over the top and raised $500.
Wow.
So that's also one. Thank you, Revolution Books in Berkeley. And it's also a good example of the kinds of things we can do coming together to raise the funds. We're going to end this live stream, and I want to say a few things, and I wanted to end by reading something in this New Year's statement, which we've been talking about today. So thank you, everybody who contributed. I can't, from the heart, we are moved, we are sustained by your comments, obviously sustained by your financial contributions so the tour can eat, but also sustained by your comments and the spirit and the dedication that people have tuned in, have spread, have contributed to this. Be part of these seminars to dig into this statement. This is a profound, important statement that it should be dug into deeply. So this coming Saturday, there's a Come One, Come All seminar, Zoom into the revolution. Find out about it, write to us at therevcoms@gmail.com or get organized for revolutiontour@gmail.com. Write to us, go to revcom.us to find out more, and then sign up for one of these more extensive seminars, 1 session, 2, 3, 4 sessions. And we're going to break them up into groups, but write to us if you want to be part of it. It merits it. It matters. Take the opportunity. So I think those are the announcements I wanted to make. Go to revcom.us tomorrow. In 2 weeks, we are aiming to raise another $20,000. Stay tuned on revcom.us for plans and materials to make that possible. So I wanted to end by reading this from the statement, where Bob Avakian is talking about the Constitution for the new Socialist Republic in North America that Lenny was talking about. And Avakian says this, he says, "It is a fact that nowhere else in any actual or proposed founding or guiding document of any government is there anything like not only the protection, but the provision for dissent and intellectual and cultural ferment that is embodied in this Constitution. While this has, as its solid core, a grounding in the socialist transformation of the economy, with the goal of abolishing all exploitation and the corresponding transformation of the social relations and the political institutions, to uproot all oppression, and the promotion through the educational system and in society as a whole of an approach that will, quote, enable people to pursue the truth wherever it leads with a spirit of critical thinking and scientific curiosity, and in this way, to continually learn about the world and be better able to contribute to changing it in accordance with the fundamental interests of humanity." So I won't, go on. People should go to the statement, read the full quote, and dig into it more themselves. But I wanted to end there because I wanted to put on the table again the vision of the world that's actually possible. It's going to take a struggle, and it's serious, but it's possible. So thank you for joining with us to be part of making it possible, to support this, to help spread it. We really can't wait to hear more from you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your funds. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.